Chapter 828. The three rushing thunder swords shot up into the air like three beams of light, startling everyone who was fighting more than 10 miles away. But soon, everyone in the battle group was able to distinguish between friend and foe. A beam of light flew up from the battle group and headed towards the three rushing thunder swords. It was Fan Yuqing, who was ranked second among the third disciples of the Taishan sect. Lu Ping was currently heading to the side of the three rushing thunder swords. His plan was to attack from the side when the opponent came to intercept the three. However, Fan Yuqing's arrival still surprised Lu Ping. Lu Ping was suspicious. Who were the two people who came later, and why had Fan Yuqing been sent to intercept the three rushing thunder swords? Could it be that the two people's strength was higher than Fan Yuqing's? Lu Ping's divine consciousness infiltrated the battle group, but found that a sword light was trapped between two halos. No matter how the sword light flashed and moved, it could not break through the two halos. Lu Ping was secretly shocked, and the uneasiness in his heart grew stronger. He had originally thought that the Taishan sect was going to bow down to Fan Yuqing, but the two people who surrounded Xiahou Wushang were obviously not from the Taishan sect. For a moment, Lu Ping even had the urge to give up on the Thunder Tribulation Water and retreat. However, if he retreated at this time, it would be like sending the three rushing thunder swords into the tiger's mouth. He had seen the three rushing thunder swords fight with Fan Yuqing. Although the three rushing thunder swords were considered good among the core forging adepts, and the three of them could fight against early Dharma adepts, but compared to Fan Yuqing, who was at the top of the early Dharma adepts, there was still a considerable gap. Xiahou Wushang's originally cold face was now covered with frost. He had never thought that the always arrogant Fan Yuqing would actually set up a trap to join forces with others to surround and kill him. However, after seeing the identity of the two adepts who appeared to surround and attack him, Xiahou Wushang felt a little flattered. Wuxing School's Qin Wuliang, Zhoushuan Tower's Zhu Zhuan. The direct disciples of the two holy lands had joined forces to besiege him, and Fan Yuqing had become a foil. Xiahou Wushang felt that he would have no regrets even if he died with such a tyrannical lineup against him. As a result, Xiahou Wushang became more and more courageous as he fought. Under the siege of three people, he had long since given up the illusion of breaking out of the encirclement. He wanted to unleash his full strength, moving forward bravely and facing death without retreating. This was Xiahou Wushang's understanding of a sword cultivator. However, this thought was shaken by the sudden appearance of the three rushing thunder swords. Although Xiahou Wushang was devoted to cultivation and rarely involved himself in the sect's affairs, it didn't mean that he didn't know some of the sect's secrets. Many hot-blooded cultivators in the sect were dissatisfied with Seven Fan Laozu's order to give up the heavenly profound sect's territory in the plain cultivation world. Many cultivators had secretly colluded to kill the envoys from the 5 holy lands who were participating in the Pure Young Assembly in order to force the sect to retract its order. The 3 rushing thunder swords, third senior brother, and the others were all active participants in this plan. Now that the 3 rushing thunder swords had suddenly appeared, Xiahou Wushang suddenly realized that this was the place where third senior brother and the others had ambushed the envoys from Wuxing School. But why had Fan Yuqing lured him here? Looking at Qin Wuliang, who had joined forces with Zhu Zhuan to trap him, Xiahou Wushang immediately felt a chill rush from the soles of his feet to his head. If third senior brother and the 3 swords had come to ambush Qin Wuliang, why had Qin Wuliang appeared before they had ambushed him? Moreover, why had he surrounded him with Zhu Zhuan? Could it be that third senior brother and the others had already known about their plan? Otherwise, why would Zhu Zhuan appear here? For a moment, Xiahou Wushang's mind was filled with disorderly questions. All kinds of worries came one after another, and the Wushang sword in his hand inevitably slowed a little. Showing such a flaw at such a critical moment of life and death was simply courting death. Even though it had only been for a moment, Xiahou Wushang knew that he was probably going to be miserable this time. However, this fleeting flaw did not seem to be noticed by the 2 geniuses from the Holy Lands. The 2 were still focused on consolidating the halo that had trapped him, as if they were deepening their tacit understanding with each other. Xiahou Wushang naturally knew that at their current level, it was impossible for the 2 to turn a blind eye to the flaw just now. So, did the 2 deliberately let him go? Xiahou Wushang's heart sank, and an inexplicable idea jumped out of his mind. Fishing. They were fishing, waiting for more heavenly mystery sect cultivators to appear. Or it could be said that they had long known that more and more heavenly mystery sect cultivators would appear. Xiahou Wushang knew that this was not impossible, because at least now that the 3 rushing thunder swords had appeared, it was possible that third senior brother and second senior brother would soon follow. Could it be that the other party wanted to catch all the elites of the heavenly mystery sect's third-generation disciples in one fell swoop? Where did they get such courage from? However, the early appearance of Qin Wuliang from Wuxing School and the unexpected appearance of Zhu Zhuan from Nine Profound Tower seemed to indicate that things were not as simple as he had imagined. If these two could appear, it was possible that the envoys from the other 3 holy lands were hiding nearby. Xiahou Wushang opened his mouth, wanting to tell the 3 rushing thunder swords to leave, but Qin Wuliang and Zhu Zhuan seemed to have already predicted that he would do this. Qin Wuliang muttered something, and the jade hairpin on Zhu Zhuan's head shone brightly. Xiahou Wushang's divine consciousness immediately sensed that 2 divine consciousnesses, whose cultivations were far above his own, were spreading along the halo of light that had surrounded him. Not only did they imprison his voice, but they also firmly blocked his divine consciousness within the halo. It was only then that Xiahou Wushang realized that although the 2 people in front of him had similar cultivations as him, their strength was slightly higher. No wonder the 2 of them had asked Fan Yuqing to block the 3 rushing thunder swords. It turned out that in their eyes, Fan Yuqing was the weakest link in their encirclement. Xiahou Wushang smiled bitterly. In the eyes of these Holy Land's direct disciples, the weakest link was actually an existence that was on par with them. Xiahou Wushang could also sense that Qin Wuliang and Zhu Zhuan's strength should be similar to that of eldest senior brother and second senior brother. However, their status in Wuxing School and Nine Profound Tower was far less than that of eldest senior brother and second senior brother in the Heavenly Mystery Sect. This was the true Holy Lands. The Heavenly Mystery Sect had maintained its legacy for nearly 20,000 years. Many Heavenly Mystery Sect disciples, including Xiahou Wushang, were confident that they were not much weaker than these direct disciples of the Holy Lands. Now it seemed that he and the others were just frogs at the bottom of a well. It was no wonder that eldest senior brother and second senior brother, who had condensed a 9th-grade golden core and advanced to the Dharma manifestation stage, still trained hard day and night. There was no other reason but because they truly understood the gap between themselves and the true top direct disciples of the Holy Lands. Just as Xiahou Wushang's morale was getting lower and lower, the battle between the 3 rushing thunder swords and Fan Yuqing finally stirred again. Although Lu Ping's divine consciousness had already sensed that Xiahou Wushang, who was trapped in the halo, seemed to be saying something urgently, Lu Ping had no way of knowing what he was saying. He waited over and over again and finally made his move. A milky white light appeared in the void and suddenly exploded when it shot in front of Fan Yuqing. Fan Yuqing, who was trying to dodge, was caught off guard. He immediately felt a strange force invading his body in an instant, cutting off the connection between his essential core and his blood. His whole body was left with nothing but stiffness. Although this feeling was resolved in an instant by the counterattack of the essential core in Fan Yuqing's body, Fan Yuqing knew that he had lost the upper hand. Moreover, the 3 rushing thunder swords that he had previously suppressed to the point of not having the slightest ability to fight back had also taken this opportunity to escape his control, giving him a chance to breathe. The familiar flying sword, the familiar sword momentum, the Taishian thorn in Fan Yuqing's hand turned into 36. In a series of clanging sounds, the flying whirlwind kill that faintly autumn waters had displayed had been blocked by Fan Yuqing. However, after all, Fan Yuqing had made a hasty move. Although he had used his Dharma manifestation cultivation to block Lu Ping's attack, he had already lost the upper hand. The unease in his heart intensified. His opponent's methods would certainly not be limited to just this. Lu Ping did not think that he would be able to hit a person like Fan Yuqing with one blow. Although the flying whirlwind kill was not the most powerful great magic that Lu Ping had mastered, it was Lu Ping's fastest and sharpest swordsmanship. Unfortunately, it still could not be used. Fan Yuqing's Taishian thorn exploded, turning into dozens of flying thorns that stabbed towards Lu Ping like a swarm of bees. Lu Ping's figure changed, 1 into 2, 2 into 4. As his figure flew, a series of Lu Ping's figures were left behind. The flying thorns were like tarsal bones. Each flying thorn could annihilate a figure, but after the figure was destroyed, it only turned into a splash of water. Even when Lu Ping, who was running at the front, was pierced by the Taishan thorn, it still turned into a splash of water. Fan Yuqing cursed under his breath. He stretched out his hand to open a door in the void and was about to enter when he saw Lu Ping's figure suddenly appear in the air not far in front of him. A turbulent river suddenly appeared in front of him, rolling towards Fan Yuqing. Within a short distance, the river meandered and twisted, almost vividly displaying the river's growth from a small trickle at birth to a vast expanse before it entered the sea. Fan Yuqing could naturally sense the unparalleled sword intent contained in this seemingly long river. He could even feel his heart palpitate from this river. He did not doubt that when he entered the space door, this river of sword chi would follow closely behind and shatter the space door he opened, completely annihilating him in the endless void. Moreover, the person in front of him was only at the 9th stage of the core forging realm. At this critical moment, Fan Yuqing once again squeezed the Taishan thorn in his hand. A total of 49 long thorns pierced towards the roaring river. It was as if they had pierced into the various acupuncture points of a long dragon's body. In an instant, the entire river of sword chi lost its vitality. Lu Ping sighed inwardly. It wasn't that his great river flows east was inferior to his opponent's. It was just that his current cultivation base couldn't fully unleash the profundities of the great river flows east. However, Lu Ping's meticulously planned series of attacks were not limited to just this. Just as Fan Yuqing was dealing with Lu Ping's series of attacks, he saw that Lu Ping had no choice but to retract the river of sword chi and retreat towards the 3 rushing thunder swords. Fan Yuqing had just breathed a sigh of relief when a purple sword light suddenly appeared behind him. Chapter 829. The shapeless sword technique that Lu Ping had mastered was a great sword technique that had originally been passed down from the failing sect. After Lu Ping had refined the Netherwater sword into the shapeless sword according to this sword technique had made great contributions to Lu Ping several times. However, as Lu Ping's cultivation grew, and the cultivation of the opponents he faced gradually increased from the core forging stage to the Dharma manifestation stage, the Netherwater sword, which had only condensed 6 talismans, was gradually unable to pose enough of a threat to his opponents. It was a pity that the inheritance of the shapeless sword technique that Lu Ping had obtained back then was incomplete. The complete shapeless sword technique not only included the method to control the shapeless sword, but also the refining of the shapeless sword and the 9 complete talismans. When Lu Ping had obtained the shapeless sword technique, only the method to control the shapeless sword was left. After that, he obtained the Netherwater sword and found the 3 talismans of the shapeless sword. After that, Lu Ping obtained the other 3 talismans of the shapeless sword technique at the auction in the Phantom City. Only then did the Netherwater sword advance all the way to the level of a talisman. As for the last 3 talismans of the shapeless sword technique, although Lu Ping had not given up on searching for them, there had been no news of them. Lu Ping had even asked several Laozu of the sect, including Celestial Phenomenon Laozu. After the destruction of the failing sect, no one had heard of anyone obtaining the complete shapeless sword technique. Thus, Celestial Phenomenon Laozu had guessed that the 3 talismans of the shapeless sword technique might still be on Failing Mountain on Failing Island. Therefore, when he launched the surprise attack on Fan Yuqing this time, Lu Ping did not use the Netherwater sword to display the shapeless sword technique at the beginning. Instead, he used a series of attacks to seize the initiative, so that Fan Yuqing had no time to pay attention to anything else and could be used to cover for the final blow of the Netherwater sword. Just as Lu Ping took a break from his series of attacks, he turned around and retreated towards the incoming 3 rushing thunder swords. Fan Yuqing thought that the opportunity to regain the upper hand had arrived, but the Netherwater sword, which had been lying in ambush, suddenly launched an attack. A purple sword light shot out, causing the Netherwater sword to no longer be able to conceal itself as it pierced towards Fan Yuqing's back. However, the Water Nether sword was only a spirit-detecting grade magic treasure. Although the surprise attack had caused Fan Yuqing to break out in a cold sweat, The instant the water nether sword's quintessential essence erupted, Fan Yuqing had already noticed it. Fan Yuqing hurriedly dodged to the side, at the same time pushing out 9 layers of stellar energy to protect his body. In the end, the water nether sword was still unable to pierce Fan Yuqing's vital points. However, Lu Ping's long-planned attack did not come to naught. Although the water nether sword was repelled by Fan Yuqing's 9 layers of stellar energy, Lu Ping's reaction was even faster. With a turn of his blade, the blade sliced horizontally across Fan Yuqing's shoulder, leaving an inch-deep gash of blood. Ever since Fan Yuqing had advanced to the manifestation stage, very few cultivators of the same level had been able to do anything to him. Even Qin Woyang and Zhu Jiufeng, who he had met today, although their strength was above his, causing him to be incomparably shocked, he reckoned that if he were to fight them one-on-one, they would at most have the upper hand. It was impossible for them to inflict any flesh wounds on him. However, the reality was that he had actually been injured by a 9th-layer core forging stage cultivator. How could Fan Yuqing accept this? Anger and humiliation were no longer enough to justify Fan Yuqing's desire to tear Lu Ping into 1,000 pieces. At this moment, the 3 swords of the 3 rushing thunder swords combined into one, transforming into 3 streaks of lightning that slashed towards Fan Yuqing at lightning speed. Fan Yuqing let out a furious roar, and an unparalleled spiritual pressure exploded from his body, forming a huge vortex of spiritual energy above his head. The supreme mystery thorn rose up, and a huge silver cicada broke free from the vortex of spiritual energy. The supreme mystery thorn was perfectly embedded in the mouth of the silver cicada, forming the mouthpiece of the Dharma idol. With a light stab towards the 3 bolts of lightning, the famous combination attack of the 3 rushing thunder swords was completely broken. Fan Yuqing's hands were like butterflies fluttering through flowers as he made a dozen hand seals. The Dharma idol trembled slightly, and a faint sound of wind breaking rang out. A pair of almost transparent cicada wings suddenly spread out from the back of the silver cicada and began to tremble rapidly. As the cicada's wings vibrated, invisible spiritual energy transformed into a series of strange undercurrents. Immediately, the clouds in the sky dispersed, the thunder extinguished, and the lightning disappeared. The divine ability formation formed by the combination of the 3 swords, rushing thunder, also collapsed. The 3 from the 3 rushing thunder swords each coughed up blood as they retreated. However, a stream of sword chi that seemed to reach the heavens rose from behind the 3 of them. The stream of sword chi seemed to contain countless noises. It was as if the entire world was about to be drowned by the noises. The strange undercurrent of spirit chi that was formed by the fluttering of the cicada wings was instantly dissolved by the noises. The moment the 3 people retreated, the sword chi slashed forward from behind towards the huge Dharma idol in the sky. Lu Ping exerted all his strength to control the Changlu sword and cast this set of swordsmanship that Lu Ping was still a little unfamiliar with. However, its power was definitely not ordinary. Because of the Changlu sword and the North Sea Wave listening spell that Lu Ping had cultivated, most of the noises that came from the sword chi were the sounds of the rising and falling tides, the rushing of the long river, and the crashing of the waves on the shore. Fan Yuqing's expression became even more gloomy when he saw that this core forging cultivator had used a divine ability to break his Dharma idol's divine ability. An endless killing intent burst out from Fan Yuqing's body. The Dharma idol of the silver cicada let out a long cry, and the weather around it changed drastically. Lu Ping and the 3 rushing thunder swords, who were fighting against it, suddenly felt as if they were in the middle of a scorching summer day. The mouthpiece formed by the Taishian thorn broke free from the mouth of the silver cicada, and then transformed into 18 pitch-black, shining thorns. They pierced into the sword chi that Lu Ping had created with the Changlu sword in 18 different directions. Lu Ping's expression changed drastically. Although the number of thorns formed by the Taishian thorn this time was only 18, which was far less than the 49 thorns formed before, Lu Ping could clearly sense the difference between the two. This was the seed of the divine ability that Fan Yuqing had condensed after he had advanced to the Dharma idol stage. It was his natural great divine ability. At this point, Lu Ping couldn't withdraw the anti-sky boil sword art anymore. So, He had no choice but to recall the flowing stream sword art. After the 18 supreme mystery thorns pierced into the sky-piercing sword art, the spiritual energy condensed in the anti-sky boil sword art rapidly shrunk like a deflated balloon. The power of the anti-sky boil sword art also plummeted. On the other hand, the avatar hovering above Fan Yuqing's head expanded like an inflated balloon. The avatar became clearer and clearer, and even the patterns on its nearly transparent cicada wings became clearer. By the time Fan Yuqing reached out and recalled the 18 sky thorns, they had reformed into the mouthpiece of the Taishian Thorn Dharma idol. Lu Ping's screeching sword light was now only 3 feet long, and when it pierced into Fan Yuqing's body, it did not even come into contact with the protective qi that protected Fan Yuqing's body. This was the first time that Lu Ping had used the Yingtian sect's screeching sword light, but it had been so easily countered by Fan Yuqing. Even though Lu Ping could now display the power of a great divine ability in his hands, and its power was not below that of Lu Ping's great river flows east, it still could not withstand a single blow from a Dharma adept's natural great divine ability. Lu Ping stood beside the 3 rushing thunder swords, and both sides faced off against Fan Yuqing. Although Fan Yuqing had used his absolute power to severely injure the 3 rushing thunder swords and neutralize Lu Ping's consecutive attacks, he knew in his heart that even though he had the upper hand, it was still impossible for him to kill the 4 of them together. This was especially true for the swordsman who stood beside the 3 rushing thunder swords. This person was definitely not a Tianqian sect practitioner, but his level of training was extremely high. At least when Fan Yuqing was at the 9th level of the core forging stage, he would not have been able to match up to this person. Screeching sword light? Who would have thought that the Yingtian sect's swordsmanship, which had been extinct for more than 4,000 years, would actually appear in your hands today? May I know your name? The series of attacks that Lu Ping and Fan Yuqing had exchanged naturally fell into the eyes of Qin Wuliang and Zhu Zhiwan. To these two, although Lu Ping's strength had shocked them, recognizing the sword light that Lu Ping had displayed was no less shocking to them. I am Lu Xinping of the North Sea. Greetings, my friends from the Holy Land. Glancing at Fan Yuqing, Lu Ping did not hide his identity, because there was no need at all. At this time, Lu Ping could no longer hide his identity by changing his appearance. You are Lu Xinping of the North Sea? When Zhu Zhiwan looked at Lu Ping again, there was finally a hint of surprise in his eyes. He added, as expected, your strength is extraordinary. It's just that you've chosen the wrong side today. It's a pity that with your cultivation, the North Sea could produce such an outstanding talent, but today, you're going to fall here. Lu Ping's heart sank. At this time, Fan Yuqing was no longer able to stop the 4 of them from joining forces, but the other party was still so fearless. That could only mean one thing. There were still cultivators hiding nearby. A long and deep metallic clanging sound came from the dense forest more than 10 kilometers away. The faintly autumn waters sword and the flowing stream sword that were circling around Lu Ping's body suddenly began to tremble uncontrollably. This was the sound of a flying sword being unsheathed. Lu Ping's eyes narrowed. He saw that in the dense forest more than 10 kilometers away, a figure slowly rose up, and then a fiery red flying sword with a hint of white hovered under his feet. In just an instant, this figure had already arrived in front of Lu Ping. Lu Ping opened his mouth to speak, but the approaching figure pointed with both hands, and the flying sword under his feet had already stabbed towards Lu Ping's chest, not giving Lu Ping any chance to speak. Just this sword thrust caused Lu Ping to break out in a cold sweat. The flowing stream sword under Lu Ping's feet turned into a surging river, carrying Lu Ping back at lightning speed. The faintly autumn waters sword scattered into countless sword lights, wrapping around Lu Ping's body in layers upon layers of dense sword lights. The seeping water sword technique was also an excellent defensive technique, but this fiery red flying sword still pierced straight through, destroying the faintly autumn waters sword seeping water sword technique with ease. Lu Ping had already retreated several hundred meters, but this flying sword still followed him like a shadow. The sharp and hot sword intent pierced through Lu Ping's layers of defense and directly headed towards his chest. Lu Ping's core space was stimulated by the sword intent and constantly trembled. The seven treasures thunder calabash spat out a thick bolt of lightning that wrapped around his entire body. The nine strange dragons on the surface of the golden core space rapidly swam, and the natal gentian formation suddenly activated. The entire core space finally broke free from the influence of the sword intent and stabilized once more. Huh. A familiar voice sounded in Lu Ping's ear. You really were hiding your strength that day. Today, I will definitely force you to use all of it. Chapter 830. Lu Ping kept retreating, but he was still unable to shake off the flying swords of the person in front of him. In just a blink of an eye, Lu Ping was already several miles away from the area where Fan Yuqing and the three rolling thunder swords were. In the distance, the three rolling thunder swords were shocked to see Lu Ping being attacked. They were about to step forward to help when Fan Yuqing, who was standing next to them, grinned hideously and split one of his Taishian thorns into 36 thorns, trapping the three rolling thunder swords. The sky was filled with the whooshing sounds made by the 36 Taishian thorns as they flew rapidly. Lu Ping saw that the person in front of him wanted to say something, but the person in front of him seemed to be deliberately not giving him the chance to speak. One sword strike after another was faster than the one before, and every sword strike was aimed at his chest. Lu Ping used all his strength, but he was still unable to shake off the attacks of the person in front of him. The long stream sword under his feet brought Lu Ping into the dense forest several miles away. In the distance, the three rolling thunder swords had already disappeared from Lu Ping's sight. In order to deal with the crisis before him, Lu Ping had already focused all his divine will on the person in front of him, so how could he still have the time to check on the situation of others? Using the trees in the forest, Lu Ping's figure split into 2, 2 into 4, 4 into 8. 32 figures fled in all directions of the forest. A cold sneer rang out, "Brother Lu, is it really so hard to have a real fight with you?" The fiery red longsword unleashed 32 beams of sword light in all directions, slashing all 32 figures into splashes. However, the longsword itself was still moving forward, chasing all the way to an empty place several miles away. Suddenly, a mass of sword light surged out of nothingness like boiling water, barely stopping the fiery red longsword for a moment. Lu Ping was wearing a robe that looked like a multicolored cloud, dodging left and right in the dense forest, appearing and disappearing. The long stream sword under his feet had already been replaced by the long stream sword, while the long stream sword was wielded by Lu Ping in the air, once again transforming into a heavenly river that descended from the sky, surging towards the person who was chasing after him. The autumn water sword was still using the seeping water sword technique, but the Yiren sword had sprung up, drawing out a series of semicircular sword flowers that looked like a fan of swords. A total of 81 sword flowers rose above the sword river formed by the long stream sword technique, turning into 81 waves that were as white as snow, rushing towards the person who was chasing after him one after another. A core forging sword cultivator who was able to use a great swordsmanship divine ability could be regarded as an expert among cultivators of the same level. A core forging sword cultivator who could use 2 or more flying swords to perform a great swordsmanship divine ability could be regarded as an expert among cultivators of the same level. If a core forging sword cultivator could use 2 flying swords to perform 2 different great swordsmanship divine abilities, then perhaps only the outstanding disciples of those great sects could achieve this. And now, Lu Ping was using 3 spirit-nourishing flying swords to perform 3 different great sword techniques. With such a level of cultivation, even the Dharma sword cultivator who was chasing Lu Ping could not help but secretly admire him. However, the person who was chasing Lu Ping was clearly prepared for this. Even though the strength that Lu Ping had displayed had moved him quite a bit, this person only used the flying sword in his hand to slash forward 3 times. With one slash, the seeping water sword technique became the leaking water sword technique. With one slash, the 81 waves formed by the 1,000 snow sword technique became rootless duckweed. With one slash, the Milky Way formed by the long stream sword technique was split in the middle. However, the person who was chasing him did not see the slightest bit of surprise on Lu Ping's face. Thinking of the elusive sword that had stabbed Fan Yuqing just now, he secretly cursed in his heart. Then, he felt a cold sword will penetrating into his bones from the left side of his ribs. The person snorted coldly, and the fiery flying sword in his hand was pulled back to his chest. A ring of fire burst out from his body, and a mournful wail was heard. The purple sword light flashed 3 feet away, and the cold sword will immediately dissolved into nothingness. The person said proudly, "Brother Lu, with 4 swords and 4 great sword techniques, such strong inner yuan and sharp sword techniques, you are indeed worthy of being called the North Sea Water Sword Celestial. If I had not entered the Dharma stage, I would naturally admit defeat. But now, I am confident that one flying sword can break all your sword techniques and spells." The person called out Lu Ping's nickname in the North Sea training world, but Lu Ping did not mind. The person was not ordinary, so it was normal for him to know about him. That may not be so. The person was slightly stunned, and then his expression changed slightly. Without thinking, he threw the long sword in his hand behind him. He heard the sound of metal clashing behind him, and the person had to stagger forward a few steps. When he turned around to look, he saw a magnificent golden sword chi collapsing. A golden flying sword with a body like scales flew backward, and a mournful wail came from the trembling flying sword. Although the person had repelled Lu Ping's attack, he had finally been hit by Lu Ping's 5th great sword technique. His inner yuan was shaken, and he could no longer maintain the previous attack that had been so carefree. Lu Ping finally got rid of the person's series of sword techniques and was able to catch his breath, but his heart could not calm down. The person was none other than Xie Tianyang, the last of the 6 great swords of the Purple Sun Palace that Lu Ping had met in the Western Wilderness. Xie Tianyang had long entered the Dharma stage. His surging Dharma inner yuan, coupled with the blazing sky sun sword, had suppressed Lu Ping from the beginning to the point that he could not fight back and could only run. If Xie Tianyang had not entered the Dharma stage, although he was already a famous hero of the Purple Sun Palace, Lu Ping thought that he could be on par with Xie Tianyang with swordsmanship alone. If they were to fight to the death, Lu Ping would definitely be able to win. However, at this time, Xie Tianyang had condensed his Dharma power and was wielding his sword freely, while Lu Ping was tired of dealing with him. In the end, he had even used the golden scale sword that he had long abandoned, and only then did he have a chance to catch his breath. He used 5 flying swords at once, and each flying sword displayed a set of great and powerful sword techniques. Although Lu Ping's inner yuan was thick and his strength was profound, the inner yuan in his body was turbulent and his chi was chaotic. The huge golden elixir in the space of his heart was flickering. Lu Ping still had a trump card that he had not used, the natal gentian array, which was his last resort. However, Lu Ping did not think that Xie Tianyang had used up all his tricks. At least, Xie Tianyang had not condensed his Dharma power yet. Furthermore, with Xie Tianyang's talent, how could he not have condensed his Dharma power when he entered the Dharma stage? He might even have condensed more than one Dharma power. Lu Ping thought to himself that if Xie Tianyang used his Dharma power, in addition to his other tricks, even if he used the natal gentian array, he would still be defeated. The two of them adjusted their auras, but with tacit understanding, neither of them attacked again. Lu Ping looked up and saw that the two of them had already flown dozens of miles away from the battle. The battle between the 3 rushing thunder swords and Fan Yuqing and the others had long gone unnoticed. Lu Ping had some guesses as to why Xie Tianyang had forced him to this place, but he still smiled and said, "Brother Xie, we haven't seen each other for more than a year. Congratulations on condensing your Dharma power. From now on, I will call you Tianyang Laozu." Xie Tianyang smiled and said, "Brother Lu, why are you so pretentious? Do you think that because I have condensed my Dharma power first, you will not recognize me as your brother? Furthermore, with Brother Lu's strength, you will definitely be stronger than me when you condense your Dharma power in the future." Although the two of them had exchanged many compliments, Xie Tianyang's last sentence, more or less, came from the bottom of his heart. Throughout the battle with Lu Ping, although Xie Tianyang had not used many techniques, apart from his Dharma power and his special powers, he had used his full strength. However, in the end, he had only managed to force Lu Ping to use 5 flying swords at the same time to display his 5 special powers. In the end, he had only managed to gain the upper hand, but not the overwhelming advantage. Xie Tianyang could naturally see that although all the techniques that Lu Ping had used were sword techniques, none of the 5 flying swords were his special powers. Even when he, Lu Ping, and Sang Yu had fought the Tenma people's mid-Dharma stage elder, Mali Laozu, during the critical moment, Xie Tianyang had not seen Lu Ping use his special powers. This level of strength made Xie Tianyang respect and fear him at the same time. Lu Ping thought for a moment and said, "Brother Xie, you have forced me to come all the way here. Could it be that you do not want me to participate in the affairs of the Tianxin sect?" Xie Tianyang said seriously, "That's right. Although I do not know why Brother Lu has joined forces with the Tianxin sect cultivators, the Tianxin sect can hardly protect itself now. It was not easy for Brother Lu to attain your level of practice, and I do not wish for Brother Lu to become a sacrifice for the Tianxin sect." Lu Ping was secretly shocked. He said, "The Tianxin sect has been around for nearly 20,000 years, and has always been one of the few large sects in the Central Plains. With such a prestigious sect, even if Brother Xie is from the Xiang Palace and the other Holy Lands, it would not be an easy task to destroy it, would it?" Xie Tianyang smiled and said, "Although the Tianxin sect is strong, it is still not as strong as the 5 Holy Lands. Moreover, the 5 Holy Lands are working together now, and the 5 Holy Lands are only suppressing us, not exterminating us. Otherwise, we would not have needed to act so rashly to alert them. Can Brother Lu not see it now?" Lu Ping was silent. In fact, when Qin Wuliang, Zhu Jiuwan, and Xie Tianyang appeared one after another, Lu Ping had already sensed that something was wrong. The direct descendants of the 5 Holy Lands were working together to fight against the Tianxin sect. This was not something that Lu Ping could wade through. In fact, Lu Ping had long wanted to retreat. It was just that he had promised to help the Rushing Thunder 3 swords earlier, so it was not good for him to become a deserter. Xie Tianyang's action to force him to retreat could be said to be playing into Lu Ping's hands. Although the battle along the way was because Lu Ping was not strong enough, it could also be said that the two of them already had a tacit understanding. Lu Ping cupped his hands and said, "In that case, many thanks for Brother Xie's reminder. I believe there are still cultivators from the 5 Holy Lands lying in ambush in the forest. If Brother Xie had not acted, I would not have been able to escape the fate of death today." Xie Tianyang nodded and said with a smile, "In the western wilderness, you and I can be considered to have gone through thick and thin together. During the battle with Mali Laozu, Brother Lu even helped several times, so it is only right that I acted this time. However, I am a little curious. What kind of relationship does Lu Ping have with the Tianxin sect?" After seeing Qin Wuliang of Wuxing School and Zhu Jiuwan of 9 Profound Tower, he actually still wanted to help the Tianxin sect cultivators? Chapter 831. Hearing Xie Tianyang's question, Lu Ping's heart skipped a beat. He asked, "Brother Xie, I heard that the Tianxin sect originally wanted to exchange for the lightning tribulation water with the 5 Holy Lands?" Indeed. Xie Tianyang was also a quick-witted person. Hearing Lu Ping's question, he immediately realized something and smiled. "Brother Lu is known as the Water Sword Immortal in the North Sea. You didn't promise the 3 Rushing Thunder swords this time because of the lightning tribulation water, did you?" At this moment, Lu Ping had no need to hide anything. He nodded. "That's right. We originally wanted to ambush Wuxing School's Qin Wuliang, but for some reason, Fan Yuqing lured Xiahou Wushang here. Then, you all appeared one after another." Xie Tianyang extended a finger and pointed at Lu Ping. He smiled. "Brother Lu is very kind. Even now, you still can't guess that we already know the Tianxin sect's plan. Why are you still covering for them?" Seeing that Lu Ping was smiling without saying anything, Xie Tianyang no longer made things difficult for him. He directly said, "I'm afraid that the Tianxin sect's 3rd direct disciple, Xiao Shi, will arrive soon. Maybe other disciples of the Tianxin sect will follow." The disciples of the 5 Holy Lands gathered earlier this time and asked Fan Yuqing to lure Xiahou Wushang here. "We originally came for the 2 direct disciples of the Tianxin sect. As for the 3 Rushing Thunder swords, although they are also direct disciples, they are still added. The only variable is you, Brother Lu." Lu Ping didn't say much, but he was shocked that the 5 Holy Lands were so familiar with the internal situation of the Tianqian sect. This situation could only mean that the Tianqian sect's internal high-level cultivators had long since sided with the 5 Holy Lands. Xie Tianyang continued, "Unfortunately, the first and second direct disciples of the Tianqian sect didn't participate this time, so we can only let them have it easy. Otherwise, the 4 most outstanding direct disciples of the Tianqian sect would fall. I'm afraid even the 7 Fan Laozu would be heartbroken. The Tianqian sect would go downhill even without suppression." Lu Ping could only helplessly smile at Xie Tianyang's rambling. "Brother Xie, you are the Purple Sun Palace's envoy for the Pure Yang Dharma Assembly. Could it be that you really brought the lightning tribulation water with you?" Seeing that Lu Ping had personally asked, Xie Tianyang knew that this favor was most likely going to be repaid. So, he pretended to be confused and nodded. "That's right. Although we have come here to suppress the Sky Mystery sect, the elders of our sect have already promised the 7 Fans Laozu. So, the Thunder Tribulation water must be delivered." Xie Tianyang could not help but find it funny when he saw the disappointment on Lu Ping's face. He said, "However, it is not impossible if Brother Lu has a need for it. It will depend on whether Brother Lu is able to exchange for it with treasures of equivalent value. Of course, spirit stones and the like will not be considered. The Purple Sun Palace naturally does not lack spirit stones, unless Brother Lu is willing to use top-grade spirit stones to exchange." Lu Ping smiled wryly and said, "Supreme spiritual stones? Brother Xie must be joking. Have you forgotten that I am from the North Sea? However, if Brother Xie exchanges the Thunder Tribulation water with me, how will we explain it to the Sky Mystery sect?" Xie Tianyang smiled disdainfully and said, "Then what is there to explain? The envoys from the 5 sacred grounds were ambushed at the border of the Sky Mystery sect. Although we managed to escape after a great battle, the treasures we brought to celebrate the 7 Fans Laozu's Pure Yang ritual gathering were stolen. This is a serious provocation to the 5 sacred grounds. We must urge the Sky Mystery sect to capture and punish the culprit as soon as possible to serve as a warning to others." Lu Ping laughed dryly and said, "Brother Xie is indeed domineering. Looking at Brother Lu's appearance, could it be that you are already prepared?" Xie Tianyang smiled to himself and said, "That's right." The 3 rushing thunder swords were able to invite Brother Lu as a helper. It is obvious that they are targeting the treasures that Brother Lu wants to exchange for. "How about it? Can you take it out and let me have a look?" Lu Ping did not say much. He handed a jade bottle to Xie Tianyang and said, "This is a set of 24 drops. What do you think, Brother Xie?" Anything that could be stored in the jade essence bottle was naturally not an ordinary item. Xie Tianyang took the jade essence bottle suspiciously. As soon as he uncorked the bottle, a deep and fragrant aroma wafted out of the bottle. Xie Tianyang's spirit was lifted and his eyes immediately lit up. He came from the Purple Sun Palace, so his vision and knowledge were naturally extraordinary. Just from the fragrance alone, he could guess what it was. However, this item had not appeared in the world of cultivation for a long time. There were even rumors that this item had been extinct for a long time, so it was inevitable that he had some doubts. Xie Tianyang turned his wrist and a silver needle appeared in his hand. He lightly dipped the needle into the jade bottle and tasted it on the tip of his tongue. Xie Tianyang's eyes lit up even more. He took a deep breath and looked at Lu Ping and said, Could this be the legendary amethyst royal jelly? Hasn't this item been extinct in the world of cultivation for a long time? Where did Brother Lu get this item?" Lu Ping saw that there was a trace of doubt in his joy, but he did not mind. After all, this item had disappeared from the world of cultivation for a long time. It was inevitable that people would be suspicious if it suddenly appeared. Lu Ping then told Xie Tianyang about how he had luckily obtained some royal jelly from the secret cave. He did not want to reveal the news that he had the amethyst royal jelly. Otherwise, wouldn't the Dharma adepts who would swarm in and beat Lu Ping up? Finally, Lu Ping smiled and said, "Brother Xie, rest assured, I do not have the guts to use a fake item to deceive a disciple of a holy land like you. Furthermore, could it be that Brother Xie doubts your own judgment?" Xie Tianyang actually just found it hard to believe. After hearing Lu Ping's words, He no longer had any doubts. He smiled and said, "Please don't blame me, Brother Lu. After all, I believe you know what this item means to a Dharma adept." Xie Tianyang paused and put away the full bottle of amethyst royal jelly. He laughed and said, "Since this is the case, there is no need to be unreasonable between us. Using this amethyst royal jelly to exchange for the thunder punishment aqua is acceptable. It's just that this bottle of 24 drops is far from enough. Although the thunder punishment aqua is not extinct, its value is definitely above that of the amethyst royal jelly." Lu Ping nodded and said, "Indeed, but how much does Brother Xie want? Although I was lucky enough to obtain some from the senior's cave, it is still very limited. No matter what, you have to leave some for me, right?" Xie Tianyang stretched out 2 fingers and said, 2 bottles, 2 more bottles. This time, the thunder punishment aqua that I have will belong to Brother Lu." Lu Ping said awkwardly, "Brother Xie, you are asking for too much. Although the thunder punishment aqua is precious, it will not be to the point of exchanging 1 bottle for 3. No matter what, you have to leave some for me, so that when I advance to the Dharma stage in the future, I can use it to make a few cauldrons of Dharma pills. You must know that there are very few Dharma pills to begin with, and in addition, the 3,000-year-old spirit herbs used to make Dharma pills are even more precious. This amethyst royal jelly is one of the rare treasures that can increase the success rate of Dharma pills. How about I give you another bottle? No more?" Xie Tianyang smiled and shook his head. "Brother Lu, you don't have to be so stingy. You exchange for the thunder punishment aqua to form your golden elixir, right? 1 bottle is enough for you to form a 9th-grade golden elixir. Furthermore, the thunder punishment aqua is extremely spiritual and is one of the most difficult treasures to form among the top heaven-level spiritual items. However, once you successfully form your golden elixir, the power of your magical powers will increase by a lot. With Brother Lu's strength, by then, there will be no one below the Dharma stage who can defeat you. Even if I advance to the Dharma stage, I am afraid that I will not be able to defeat Brother Lu. Furthermore, in the future when Brother Lu advances to the Dharma stage, with such a strong foundation, your training will probably improve by leaps and bounds. With Brother Lu's strength, there will be no one below the Dharma stage. Even if I advance to the Dharma stage, I am afraid that I will not be able to defeat Brother Lu. Furthermore, in the future when Brother Lu advances to the Dharma stage, with such a strong foundation, your training will probably improve by leaps and bounds. With such an important item, exchanging it for 3 bottles of royal jelly would be the most appropriate. Lu Ping took out a jade bottle from his storage ring. After some thought, he took out 3 more jade bottles and said, "It's not that I am stingy, it's just that I don't have much left. However, if this royal jelly is brought back by Brother Xie, I am afraid that most of it will be divided among the elders of your sect, Lao Zu. It would be good if Brother Xie could have a few drops left. However, I still have a few bottles of purple crystal honey. Although this item is not as precious as the royal jelly, it is also very useful for making tea and refining elixirs. I will use 2 bottles of royal jelly and 3 bottles of purple crystal honey to exchange for the thunder punishment aqua. What does Brother Lei think?" Xie Tianyang pondered for a moment and said with a smile, "Previously, I was only concerned about the preciousness of the royal jelly and forgot that with royal jelly, how could honey be lacking? This purple crystal honey can be used as a topping. Fine, I will not force Brother Lu. However, purple crystal honey can be used to refine elixirs. After all, it is still considered a heavenly treasure. If it is used to make tea, it would be a reckless waste of a heavenly treasure. Brother Lu, you won't really use it to make tea, right?" Lu Ping saw Xie Tianyang take out a special jade bottle that was covered in spirit sealing and spirit sealing runes and tossed it over. Lu Ping hurriedly caught the jade bottle and used his divine sense to penetrate the runes. Very quickly, he sensed a thunderous aura. It was exactly the same as the portion of thunder tribulation liquid that Lu Ping had previously obtained. So, he put it away and smiled awkwardly. Brother Xie must be joking. However, I still have to thank Brother Xie. With this portion of thunder tribulation liquid, I will also return to the North Sea to prepare to cultivate in peace." Xie Tianyang nodded and said, "That's good. Now that the Central Plains can be said to be undergoing great changes, The calamity of Mara is getting closer and closer. There has already been news of Mara's appearance everywhere in the Central Plains. I think the overseas region is no exception. Brother Lu is strong and must be an important figure in your sect. You should return to your sect as soon as possible and prepare for the arrival of the calamity. Watching Xie Tianyang turn into a ray of light and fly towards the direction of the previous battle, Lu Ping was in a daze for a moment. In the core space, Lu Ping poured the entire portion of Thunder Tribulation liquid into the 7 Thunder Treasure Calabash. The entire 7 Thunder Treasure Calabash suddenly went crazy again. Countless lightning bolts jumped out of the 7 Thunder Treasure Calabash, flashing and exploding in the core space. It took half an hour before it stopped. When the 7 Thunder Treasure Calabash settled down, Lu Ping put on the stone armor from the storage ring and then flew back to the battlefield of the previous battle. But this time, Lu Ping did not return to participate in the battle, but to watch it. How could Lu Ping miss such an opportunity to compete with the top 3rd-generation disciples of the Central Plains? Chapter 832. By the time Lu Ping arrived at the site of the previous battle between the two sides, there was no one there. However, the traces of the battle extended all the way to the west. Along the way, there were fallen trees, pits, and withered flowers and grass that had been caused by the aftermath of the battle. Lu Ping used his divine sense to explore along the traces, but within the range of his divine sense, there was no one there. There was only a faint fluctuation of spiritual power coming from further away. It was obvious that the battle between the two sides had moved to another place. Lu Ping was not in a hurry to catch up. Instead, he put away the boat under his feet. The beautiful autumn water sword was already circling around him. Lu Ping's eyes suddenly shot out a green light that was more than a foot long next to a giant tree 100 feet away. His 2 swords pointed to the empty space next to the giant tree and said coldly, "I don't know who is hiding there. Please come out and meet me." Just when Lu Ping released his own divine sense to explore, he inadvertently discovered that there was an inexplicable movement 100 feet away from him. Then, an aura that was somewhat familiar to Lu Ping began to float in the direction of Lu Ping. Lu Ping took a deep breath, and that aura took the opportunity to enter. Lu Ping inhaled a lot of it into his stomach. Finally, there was a giggle from afar, and a smooth as jade leg stepped out of the empty space. When Lu Ping looked up, a young woman with a flirtatious dress swayed her body. She had already removed the magic that she had used to conceal herself. She threw a flirtatious look at Lu Ping and said, "Hey, little brother, your divine sense is so powerful. It was so easy for you to find out where I was hiding." Lu Ping's expression was solemn. The woman who had suddenly appeared looked weak, but in fact, she was a Dharma adept. Moreover, the 3 pure true pupils that Lu Ping had displayed just now allowed Lu Ping to confirm that the woman in front of him was not a human, but a demon clan cultivator. However, due to the brilliance of this woman's concealment technique, Lu Ping's 3 pure true pupils could see that she was not a human, but he could not completely see her background. However, Lu Ping was somewhat familiar with the aura from before, so Lu Ping could almost determine her origin. Lu Ping sighed inwardly. What was to come had finally come. Furthermore, they had chased him from the Eastern Sea, which was millions of miles away, all the way to the Central Plains. This matter might not be easily resolved. "You're Lu Xinping of the Northern Sea? It wasn't easy to find you last time, but this time, it wasn't hard at all. I didn't expect to sense your aura here." The woman's tone was still gentle and pleasant, but Lu Ping could hear the murderous intent hidden behind her hidden tone. His aura naturally could not be sensed by a stranger, so there was no doubt that this person's identity was confirmed. She had sensed the aura of the green sea snake on his body. "I didn't expect you to come all the way from the Eastern Sea. The green sea snakes are really famous in the cultivation world for protecting their own people." At this time, the woman's face suddenly became a little gloomy, and she said, "My natal poison has not taken effect after being inhaled by you for such a long time. You really killed my clansmen. I think this ability to remove poison only came after refining the snake gall of my clan's cultivators, right?" Lu Ping knew that it was useless to explain at this time. Suddenly, A golden shield was propped up around his body. Vigorous true essence flashed on the surface of the shield, and the surface of the shield became brighter and brighter. Myriad poison meteorite energy shield? The woman was a little surprised, but there was no change in her expression. She continued, "You are lucky. Looking at the quality of the Gang Chi, it is obvious that you have used the top-grade myriad poison serum. With this Gang Chi, I am afraid that you are immune to hundreds of poisons. No wonder my natal poison Chi couldn't do anything to you just now. Instead, it helped you to improve the quality of your Gang Chi." Lu Ping said helplessly, "Fellow cultivator, the reason why I showed this myriad poison meteorite energy shield is to prove that I did not kill the green sea snakes." Huh. The woman laughed angrily and said, "This is strange. Under the eyes of the West Wilderness's river source, hundreds of people can be witnesses, and you still dare to quibble. This is really strange. Could it be that your North Sea's Zhenling can withstand the anger of the green sea snakes? What's more, the myriad poison serum is known as the mother of all poisons. It can improve its quality by smelting all the poisons in the world. Your Gang Chi seems to be of extremely high quality. It must have been improved by smelting the top-grade poisons. Moreover, I have detected the toxicity of 3 kinds of green sea snakes from your Gang Chi. It is actually the wind poison, the water poison, and the ice poison." The woman became angry and said, "Boy, how dare you? According to the legend of the West Wilderness, you have only killed 1 green sea snake. I didn't expect that you have killed at least 3. Lu Ping looked at the Dharma Plain green sea snake demonic cultivator in front of him speechlessly. Although he was secretly shocked by this person's sharp eyes, his Gang Chi was indeed mixed with the snake venom of Samling. That was because when Lu Ping entered the fallen Golden Canyon in the 7 Stars Cave Heaven, his ability was low, and Samling was also young. So, Lu Ping had to rely on Samling's snake venom to resist and enter the canyon together. Later, when Lu Ping smelted the myriad poison meteorite power gang, because Samling's cultivation was not good enough at that time, Lu Ping had to help the 3 of them improve the quality of their natal poisons. In the process of improving Samling's natal snake venom, Lu Ping's myriad poison meteorite power gang was also absorbed by Lu Ping's myriad poison meteorite power gang. This method could be said to be beneficial to both sides. However, now that he had encountered the green sea snakes, a giant demonic race that was famous for protecting their own, Lu Ping could not explain himself. "Kid, I have nothing to say." The woman smiled proudly and said, "You have the guts to dare to kill the people of the green sea snakes. You are also a cultivator from overseas. Although the North Sea is closed, haven't you heard of the rules that we, the green sea snakes, have set in overseas? A Zhenling family is nothing in the eyes of the green sea snakes. If you really provoke them, we will destroy them." Lu Ping did not want to talk to this rather complicated demonic cultivator anymore. Although the Zhenling family was not as good as the green sea snakes, it was not easy to destroy them. Although the green sea snakes were protective of their own people, they would not go so far as to destroy a rather powerful medium-sized sect just for 1 or 2 of their own people. Of course, if the Zhenling family was just an ordinary family, the green sea snakes would definitely not mind using them to establish their prestige. However, Lu Ping could feel the dense killing intent from this woman. Although the green sea snakes would not go so far as to use the Zhenling to establish their prestige, it would not be difficult for them to destroy Lu Ping. Lu Ping thought for a while and understood. This woman most likely had her eyes on the myriad poison meteorite power on him. He could easily resolve her natal snake venom, so at the very least, the quality of Lu Ping's myriad poison meteorite power must be higher than her snake venom. One must know that the poison magical power was one of the most important inheritances of the green sea snakes, and the myriad poison serum was the most precious treasure that they dreamed of. Its preciousness might even be comparable to that of the growing soil for alchemists. Lu Ping did not waste any more time and reached out to open the door of the golden house. Under the woman's surprised gaze, Samling walked out one after another. The aura of the same tribe quickly attracted Samling's attention to the woman in front of him. Ignoring the woman's surprised gaze, Lu Linger suddenly threw herself on Lu Ping and said in a crisp voice, "Father, who is she? Why does the aura on her body feel so familiar?" Lu Ping ignored the woman's surprised gaze and touched Lu Linger's head, saying, "She is a senior from your tribe. You should go and greet her first." Lu Baier was stunned. The three siblings stepped forward to greet the woman, and the woman immediately dispersed the killing intent hidden in her smile. She stepped forward and gently touched Samling's face. Then, she took out 3 exquisite small boxes and said, "You 3 little fellows are very likable. In the future, don't call me senior, just call me Aunt. This is our first meeting, and Aunt doesn't have anything good on me. It seems that you 3 have not lived in the tribe since you were young. These 3 small boxes are things that every green sea snake cultivator has. Today, Aunt will give them to you. If one day you want to go home, use this to return to the East Sea. At that time, Aunt will personally pick you up." Samling turned around and looked at Lu Ping. Seeing Lu Ping nodding, Lu Bai took the 3 small boxes and gave them to Lu Hai and Lu Linger, saying, "Thank you, Aunt." Lu Linger said, "We have been raised by Father since we were young. Father is our home." The woman smiled awkwardly and said, "You have been raised by him, your father since you were young, but you have not received any inheritance of the green sea snakes. Although the direct descendants of the tribe have inherited memories, those inherited memories can only support you to cultivate to the late stage of the core forging realm. If you want to cultivate again in the future, you will have to enter the inheritance land of the tribe to supplement the original inherited memories. In this way, you will be able to go further in the future." Although the woman was explaining to Samling, in fact, she was saying it to Lu Ping, because the woman could see that Samling was very dependent on Lu Ping. Although this surprised the woman, she could also see that without Lu Ping's consent, she was afraid that she would not be able to take Samling away today. If it was before, the woman could directly kill Lu Ping, but now it was not appropriate. Samling and the other 2 had raised their cultivation to the late stage of the core forging realm. Moreover, the woman could see at a glance that Samling and the other 2 had a stable aura and a strong foundation. There was no hidden danger caused by the rapid cultivation increase. Such good talent and beauty were rare even among the green sea snakes. It could be seen that Lu Ping really cultivated them. If she made a move on Lu Ping at this time, she was afraid that the 3 little guys would first turn against her. Although Lu Linger had heard about the inheritance land of the green sea snakes from Lu Ping, she was still not convinced and said, "So what if there is no inheritance of the green sea snakes? Father will definitely find a better inheritance for us." After saying that, Lu Linger stretched out her hands and turned around. A mass of ice and snow suddenly condensed on top of Lu Linger's head. She said, "Look, this is the inheritance of the Ice Serpent clan that Father found for me." Chapter 833. Seeing the ice and snow divine ability condensed above Lu Linger's head, the spirit snake woman was very surprised. Although the Ice Dragon clan had always been looked down upon among the top clans, their inheritance of ice attribute divine ability was still quite unique. However, it was said that the Ice Dragon clan had long since declined, and the inheritance of the ice and snow divine ability of the Ice Dragon clan had also been severed. She didn't expect to see the divine ability of the Ice Dragon clan again on her own clansmen. Seeing Lu Linger display the magic she was proud of, Lu Hai also took out the profound halberd. Waving it in his hand a few times, he said, "Look, this is the profound halberd Father found for me, a spirit-nurturing level magic treasure." Seeing Lu Hai take out the profound halberd to show off, Lu Linger also took out her own spirit-nurturing magic treasure. Lu Bai was originally reserved, but seeing her brother and sister take out their spirit-nurturing magic treasures, and the spirit snake woman looked at her again, she also took out the spirit-nurturing magic treasure Lu Ping found for her, a long whip, and shook it beautifully in the air. Even in the Central Plains, a true paradise of the cultivation world, those who could use spirit-nurturing magic treasures at the late core forging stage were at least direct disciples of their respective sections. At this time, Lu Ping was at best a direct disciple of Jinling, but he was able to let his adopted children use spirit-nurturing magic treasures. This made the spirit snake woman look at Lu Ping in a different light. According to the temperament of the spirit snake woman in the past, when she saw traces of Lu Ping, she only needed to kill him. However, at that time, Lu Ping was fighting Xie Tianyang, and the spirit snake woman secretly followed the cultivators of the Crystal Palace. She had a mission and could not reveal her whereabouts, because at that time, there were cultivators of the Crystal Palace hiding nearby to watch the battle between the two. After Xie Tianyang left, the cultivators of the Crystal Palace then went to fight Xiao Shi, Qin Wuliang, Zhu Jiuan, and the others. The spirit snake woman was afraid of Lu Ping's cultivation, so she could not kill him in one blow. If the two fell into a battle, even if the spirit snake woman won in the end, it would probably alarm the cultivators of the Crystal Palace. The female spirit snake cultivator knew that although she was an Avatar Realm cultivator, her strength was at most on par with the Purple Sun Palace cultivator. On the other hand, although Lu Ping was only in the 9th layer core forging realm, his strength was unfathomable. Hence, the female spirit snake cultivator tried to ambush him with her natal snake venom in the beginning. Originally, when the spirit snake woman saw Samling, she restrained her murderous aura. When she saw that Samling was not put under a divine sense restriction like the spiritual pets raised by other human beings, and that he admired Lu Ping, the murderous aura of the spirit snake woman disappeared without a trace. The spirit snake woman originally wanted to use the inheritance of the green sea snakes to attract Samling to return to the East Sea with her. Who would have thought that Samling did not have any sense of belonging to the green sea snakes? Instead, after showing the 3 spirit nurturing magic treasures and the inheritance of the Ice Dragon clan, the spirit snake woman was shocked speechless. Although the green sea snakes were rich and had a strong foundation, it was impossible for them to immediately give Samling 3 spirit nurturing magic treasures after bringing him back to the East Sea. The spirit snake woman could not help but feel a little disheartened. In the end, she could only sneer and say, "You don't have to show off in front of me. I want to bring you back to the clan for your own good." The inheritance of the Ice Dragon clan and the spirit nurturing magic treasures are, after all, just external things. The foundation of a cultivator is still the foundation of cultivation and the path of the true spirit. I won't hide it from the 3 of you. Although you are all talented, without the inheritance of the clan, even if you can condense the golden elixir, it will only be a 7th grade golden elixir. Even if your father finds other inheritances for you to complete, the most you can condense is an 8th grade golden elixir. In the future, it will be difficult for you to advance to the middle or late Dharma stage, not to mention the true spirit. The spirit snake woman was a little discouraged when she saw Samling's nonchalant expression. However, when she turned to look at Lu Ping's serious expression, she was happy. At the same time, she was even more certain that Lu Ping really cared about Samling. She could not help but feel a little jealous. It seemed that the 3 children would not be willing to return to the East Sea with her no matter what. She could only work on Lu Ping. It seemed that Lu Ping did not want Samling's cultivation to be delayed because he could not inherit the complete inheritance of the green sea snakes. She did not know that Lu Ping had already known that Samling would have to return to the green sea snakes in the future to inherit the complete inheritance when Yin Wujulaozu, the Fire Phoenix clan's alchemist master, took Luan Yu away to receive the inheritance of the Wood Phoenix clan. Now, Lu Ping was only worried about the problem of how to return to his side after Samling inherited the inheritance. Needless to say, Lu Ping knew that if he let Samling go, the green sea snakes would not let Samling return to his side no matter what. Although Lu Ping could not use his divine will to detect her specific level of cultivation, the natural pressure that came from a Dharma adept made Lu Ping think that this person's strength was at least not below Xie Tianyang's. And from what this woman said just now, it was obvious that she did not come here specifically to deal with him, but because of something else. Also, from the conversation just now, it was obvious that this woman had a lot of scruples, or else she would have already taken the ownership of Samling. Meeting this woman caused Lu Ping to waste a lot of time. He did not know whether the game between the Tianxian sect and the 3rd-generation disciples of the 5 Holy Lands was still going on. However, this time, Lu Ping did not dare to be the slightest bit careless. He used his divine will to check the surroundings again and again. After confirming that there was nothing wrong, he put on the stone armor and covered his aura. Then, he used the Cloudlight 5 Elements robe to cover his tracks and continued to sneak in the direction of the previous battle. Following the traces of the battle, Lu Ping chased for more than 100 miles before he could faintly hear the roar of spells and the collision of magic weapons coming from the front. At this time, Lu Ping could not help but frown. Based on the spiritual waves coming from the battle scene in front of him did not seem to be on the scale of a few Dharma adepts fighting together. Other than that, according to Lu Ping's divine will, there were no other people fighting. Lu Ping once again sneaked a few 100 feet forward. This time, his divine will could clearly sense the two parties fighting. This time, Lu Ping could not help but feel a little amused. The two parties fighting were no other than Fan Yuqing and the three rolling thunder swords. However, what made Lu Ping feel a little strange was how the three rolling thunder swords were able to last so long under Fan Yuqing's crazy attacks. Based on his divine will, at this time, the three rolling thunder swords were already like an arrow at the end of its flight and was in imminent danger, but Fan Yuqing did not seem to be having an easy time either. This scene was very strange. Lu Ping did not know what had happened during the time he was away, but out of caution, Lu Ping still carefully checked the surroundings of the battle. After discovering that there was nothing wrong, Lu Ping finally decided to help the three rolling thunder swords. In the middle of the battle, Fan Yuqing's face was ferocious. His clothes were torn in several places. In addition to the wound on his shoulder, which was cut by Lu Ping's nether aqua sword, blood trickled down from the corners of his mouth. Clearly, he had suffered from serious internal injuries. Additionally, the light from his life-bound magic treasure, the great mystery thorn, had dimmed, seemingly having suffered from serious injuries as well. On the other hand, the three rolling thunder swords were in an even more wretched state. Lei Jian's left hand had been cut off at the wrist, and his chest area had clearly caved in. Clearly, his internal organs had suffered from serious injuries. Only a few of his ribs remained. If this was an ordinary person or a cultivator with a lower cultivation base, they would have died long ago. At that moment, Lei Jian was relying on his cultivation base to protect himself. However, he did not have much strength left. Being protected by Lei Jian and Yun Jian, he became a burden instead. Clearly, Lei Jian's thigh had been pierced by the great mystery thorn. There was a large wound on his face, nearly blinding him. However, that only served to stimulate Lei Jian's ferocious nature. A flying sword stood firmly before Lei Jian to block Fan Yuqing's attacks. Amongst the three of them, Yun Jian was the one with the lightest injuries. However, he had managed to block most of Fan Yuqing's attacks. His pale face revealed that the primary energy within Yun Jian's body was nearly exhausted. He would not be able to hold on for much longer. Fan Yuqing revealed a savage grin, and the great mystery thorn, which was initially dim, abruptly flared with light. Next, a damaged silver cicada Dharma image suddenly appeared above his head. Let's see who will save you fellows this time. A pair of transparent cicada wings were filled with holes, and the damaged Dharma image writhed as it hovered in midair. The great mystery thorn shot out from the silver cicada Dharma image's mouth to instantly pierce a hole through Yun Jian's flying sword. Next, the great mystery thorn shot towards Yun Jian, who was caught off guard. Chapter 834. The Taishan thorn was about to pierce Yun Jian's chest. As long as he could kill Yun Jian, the heavily injured thunder sword and lightning sword would die. Fan Yuqing's face was full of smiles, as if he could already see the three rushing thunder swords dying at his hands. This time, Fan Yuqing could be said to have gathered the top of his head. Originally, he was sent by the sect to gather the envoys from the 5 holy lands. He wanted to give the Profound Sky sect a big trouble, but he didn't expect that these 5 envoys would treat him like a servant and order him around. This made Fan Yuqing, who was originally proud and arrogant, very angry. However, in order to not affect the sect's grand plan, he didn't dare to provoke these envoys from the Holy Lands. However, if the envoys from the 5 Holy Lands were all first or second generation cultivators of their respective sects, it would be fine. At the very least, they would have the status of seniors, and Fan Yuqing would be able to accept their orders. However, what made Fan Yuqing most aggrieved was that these envoys were originally of the same generation as him in the cultivation world. In terms of cultivation base and strength, they might not necessarily be much stronger than him, but Fan Yuqing had no choice but to lower himself in front of them. In this ambush of the Tianqian sect disciples, Fan Yuqing was first used as bait, and then he was ordered to fight the 3 rushing thunder swords, a second-rate disciple of the Tianqian sect. It was obvious that they did not trust his strength. It should have been a piece of cake, but accidents kept happening. First, he encountered Lu Xinping, who had been tricked by the 3 rushing thunder swords. He fell into his trap and suffered a sword strike on his shoulder. In the end, he had to ask Xie Tianyang of the Purple Sun Palace to help him out of his predicament. After Xie Tianyang drove Lu Xinping away, Fan Yuqing was about to kill the 3 rushing thunder swords when Xiaoxi of the Tianqian sect arrived. Fortunately, Xiaoxi was quickly trapped by the other 2 messengers from the Holy Lands. Although Xiaoxi was the 3rd direct disciple of the Tianqian sect, his actual cultivation was not necessarily higher than Xiahou Wushang's. It was only because he had reached the Dharma stage before Xiahou Wushang. Even so, the 3 rushing thunder swords took the opportunity to recover from Fan Yuqing's sword. This time, they had learned the 3 rushing thunder swords, and they knew that they were no match for Fan Yuqing. So, they did not try to fight him head-on. The 3 of them began to split up and attack together, moving around in all directions. Although Fan Yuqing still firmly held the upper hand, if he wanted to defeat the 3 rushing thunder swords in one fell swoop, he would have to expend a lot more energy. The emissaries of the 5 Holy Lands had originally planned to let Fan Yuqing finish off the 3 rushing thunder swords as soon as possible, and then join the battle with Xie Tianyang. That way, with 6 against 2, they could kill Xiahou Wushang and Xiaoxi as soon as possible, lest they attract the attention of the other Dharma Plain Laozu of the Xian sect. Unexpectedly, Fan Yuqing was still unable to take down his opponent. Even so, the situation was still under the control of the 5 Holy Lands envoys and Fan Yuqing. Once Xie Tianyang returned, the 5 Holy Lands would be able to easily defeat their opponents one by one. In reality, when Xie Tianyang returned, whether it was the 3 rushing thunder swords, Xiahou Wushang, or Xiaoxi, all of them had lost all hope. Xie Tianyang had also casually cut off Lei Jian's wrist with his sword and joined in the battle to kill Xiaoxi. Fan Yuqing followed closely behind Xie Tianyang and took the opportunity to sweep the Taixian thorn horizontally, smashing it on the chest of the lightning sword whose wrist had been cut off. Although it didn't kill the lightning sword, it did break a few of his ribs. However, in order to prevent the 3 of them from fighting again, Fan Yuqing had just used the Taixian thorn to pierce Lei Jian's thigh when a few unfamiliar practitioners suddenly appeared. 2 early Dharma adepts went straight for the battle that was surrounding Xiaoxi and Xiahou Wushang, while another peak core forging swordsman used the same sharp swordsmanship that Lu Ping had used earlier to kill, pouncing towards Fan Yuqing. Although Fan Yuqing had managed to dodge the incoming flying sword in a hurry, he did not expect this person to be so strange. He had actually closed in on Fan Yuqing like a mortal warrior and struck his back with a palm. Even though Fan Yuqing had a strong physical body at the Dharma stage, this palm caused his internal organs to tremble and blood flowed continuously from his nose and mouth. Fortunately, this person did not seem to have targeted Fan Yuqing. After injuring Fan Yuqing with his palm, he actually used his flying sword to attack Xie Tianyang. A peak core forging adept had actually taken the initiative to attack a Dharma adept from a Holy Land. This made Fan Yuqing feel strange, but at the same time, he let out a long sigh of relief. The friar's strange palm had really frightened Fan Yuqing. What Fan Yuqing did not know was that this core forging adept had once been defeated by Lu Ping in an extremely humiliating manner. After that incident, this person had endured many miraculous encounters and received guidance from the elders of the sect. His level of cultivation had soared, and he had long wanted to avenge his humiliation. Previously, they had hidden at the side to observe the sword battle between Lu Ping and Xie Tianyang. This group of people had other motives and did not interfere in order to not alert the enemy. After Lu Ping and Xie Tianyang had separated, this group of people followed Xie Tianyang to rescue the Tianqian sect adept. At this time, the peak core forging adept had immediately found Xie Tianyang, wanting to use Xie Tianyang to verify whether there was still a gap between him and Lu Ping and how big the gap was. The few adepts who had just rushed in immediately rescued Xiahou Wushang and Xiao Shi, who had been surrounded. Several people fought in pairs, rolling and tumbling all the way into the distance, leaving only Xiahou Wushang, who swore that he would torture and kill each and every one of the three rolling thunder swords. Just as Yunjian's chest was about to be pierced by the Taishan thorn, a figure staggered in front of Yunjian, just in time to block this fatal blow for him. Yunjian looked at the familiar figure in front of him and shouted in grief and indignation, "Third brother? No." Lei Jian tilted his head with difficulty and said, "Big brother, hurry up and leave." When the lightning sword saw that Yunjian was about to die, he resolutely detonated his core space and made use of the short period of spiritual energy filling his body. When his cultivation sword, he rushed over and blocked Fan Yuqing's fatal strike for Yunjian. Lei Jian looked behind him as if he could not believe it, but Lei Jian's figure was nowhere to be seen. His eyes suddenly turned bloodshot, and a turbulent spiritual energy suddenly exploded in his chest. Lei Jian howled and rushed towards Fan Yuqing, not forgetting to shout at the same time, "Big brother, hurry up and leave. Avenge me and third brother in the future." "You want to leave? Today, none of you will be able to leave," Fan Yuqing said coldly as he forcefully suppressed the strange energy that had been sent into his body by the core forging stage cultivator who had suddenly appeared. He blocked Lei Jian, who was like a mad tiger, and said coldly. Yunjian watched Lei Jian die for him, and Lei Jian was obviously ready to die as well. All that remained in his mind was the scene of the three of them becoming brothers when they first joined the Heavenly Xin sect. There was no longer any thought of escaping alone. He put down Lei Jian's corpse in his hand and pounced towards Fan Yuqing. Fan Yuqing laughed loudly and said, "You came at the right time. Today, I will make you beg for death." After saying that, he glanced at Lei Jian's corpse on the ground and cursed, "One of them got lucky." Fan Yuqing flicked his hand and sent Lei Jian flying. He watched as Lei Jian got up from the ground and continued to charge towards him while spitting blood. He could not help but frown. Just as he was about to use the Taishan thorn to end Lei Jian's life, he suddenly felt a white light flash behind him. Fan Yuqing was shocked to find that the true essence and blood in his body had suddenly stopped flowing, and his body seemed to have turned into a porcelain that could not feel anything. On the other hand, Yunjian, who was also charging towards Fan Yuqing, could see everything clearly. Just as Fan Yuqing's Taishan thorn was about to pierce Lei Jian's chest, he saw Lu Xianping, who had been chased away by Xie Tianyang, suddenly appear over 100 feet behind Fan Yuqing. A ninth-grade white jade lotus bloomed under Lu Ping's feet. As the lotus bloomed, a milky white light suddenly stared at Fan Yuqing's back. Fan Yuqing's entire body suddenly became like a statue. Although Fan Yuqing had only broken free from the white light for a moment, it was also in that moment that Lu Ping had thrown out 3 beads that shone with a 5-colored light towards Fan Yuqing's back. After recovering, Fan Yuqing didn't even have time to turn around and check what happened. He immediately dodged to the side. However, Lu Ping seemed to have anticipated this situation. The 3 pearls flew towards him in a triangular formation. Although Fan Yuqing dodged one and blocked the other with the Supreme Xian Thorn, he couldn't avoid the third one. In that moment of crisis, the broken silver cicada Dharma power once again appeared in front of Fan Yuqing. However, the 5-colored beads seemed to have a special lethality against Dharma power. With just one strike, the silver cicada Dharma power's head was smashed to pieces. Fan Yuqing opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. However, he had still managed to avoid this sure-kill attack. Looking at his Dharma power with its head smashed to pieces, a cold air came out of Fan Yuqing's core space and went straight to the top of his head. Whether it was the cultivator's palm that had suddenly appeared or the 5-colored beads now, both seemed to have a special lethality against a cultivator's Dharma power. At this time, Fan Yuqing had already seen Lu Ping appear again. He did not have time to curse Xie Tianyang for not completely killing this person. With a flash of light under his feet, he was about to dodge to the side. This was because right after the 3 5-colored beads, Lu Ping's pair of flying swords were already slashing towards Fan Yuqing's head. However, just as Fan Yuqing was dodging, his feet suddenly tightened. Although the light still carried Fan Yuqing, he only managed to dodge 3 feet away. When he looked down, he saw that the thunder sword was at his feet. A pair of iron arms were tightly restraining his legs. The thunder sword was raising its head and smiling at him with its bloody mouth. This time, not only did Fan Yuqing panic, he was even more afraid. In an instant, the thorn of supreme mystery shot out dozens of rays of light, piercing the thunder sword's body like a hornet's nest. The thunder sword was already dead, but his hands were still holding onto Fan Yuqing's legs. The cloud sword completely cut open Fan Yuqing's abdomen. As blood sprayed out, a small but tattered silver cicada mixed in with the blood flew out and collided with the cloud sword. The cloud sword was thrown far away into the depths of the forest. It was unknown whether it was dead or alive. Without waiting for the silver cicada to fly back, the beautiful autumn water sword slashed out consecutively, and the silver cicada dharma power was cut into 4 pieces. Blood flowed out of Fan Yuqing's mouth and nose. His eyes stared fixedly at Lu Ping as he watched the flowing sword slash across the sky and pierce into his core space. The dharma power was cut into pieces, and the core space collapsed. Fan Yuqing was already dead. Although Lu Ping was unharmed, the whole process was shocking to Lu Ping. Chapter 835. Lu Ping was able to kill Fan Yuqing not only because Fan Yuqing was seriously injured and only had 70% to 80% of his strength left, but more importantly, the 3 rushing thunder swords had risked their lives to fight. Lu Ping did not play much of a role. To be exact, he was the fisherman who benefited from the fight. Fan Yuqing was dead. They could not stay here for long. Lu Ping put away the damaged Taishan thorn and took away Fan Yuqing's storage magic item, then burned Fan Yuqing's body with the crimson spirit fire. Lei Jian's and Lei Jian's bodies were collected. These 2 had died a heroic death, so Lu Ping did not want to cremate them, so he planned to hand them over to the Taishan sect. Fortunately, Yun Jian still had a breath left. Lu Ping put a Zhongding pill in Yun Jian's mouth to keep him alive, and after a careful examination, he breathed a sigh of relief. Although Yun Jian was seriously injured by Fan Yuqing's broken dharma, it was not fatal. With this Zhongding pill, Yun Jian's cultivation foundation would not be greatly damaged. As long as he recuperated for a few years, he could completely restore his cultivation, and it was possible that he could go further in the future. After summoning Lu Qiner out of the Golden House, Lu Ping carried Yun Jian on his back and flew in the direction of the Taishan ancient city. Lu Ping flew all the way, and when he was still thousands of miles away from the Taishan ancient city, Lu Ping seemed to sense something and slowly slowed down his flying speed. The Cyan Phoenix behind him also slowly began to circle. A space portal flashed in front of Lu Ping, and then an old man with gray hair and beard without any aura came out of the portal with his hands behind his back. Lu Ping's divine sense couldn't detect any aura from the old man, but the moment the old man appeared, Lu Ping's heart skipped a beat and his body shuddered with fear. Lu Ping had only felt this feeling from celestial phenomenon Laozu. Lu Ping hurriedly bowed and said, "Junior Lu Xinping of North Sea Zhenling greets Senior." Lu Ping felt 2 solid gazes staring at him, as if all his secrets would be exposed under these 2 gazes. The old man's gaze finally passed over Lu Ping, and Lu Ping couldn't help but let out a sigh of relief. But then, an overwhelming killing intent assaulted him. Even though this killing intent wasn't directed at Lu Ping still found it difficult to breathe under this monstrous aura. Not far away, the Azure Phoenix let out a series of mournful cries, its trembling body almost unable to support itself and falling from the sky. Who did it? The old man was naturally referring to the unconscious Yun Jian on Lu Qiner's back. Lu Ping quickly told the old man about what had happened, including the alliance of the envoys from the 5 great sacred lands, the deaths of Lei Jian and Lei Jian, the appearance of an unfamiliar cultivator, and so on. Previously, when the 5 Holy Lands messengers had ambushed Xiahou Wushang and Xiao Shi, the 3 third-generation disciples who had come with the Crystal Palace's messengers were the ones who had helped. Lu Ping already knew that this time, the Crystal Palace's messenger to the Tianqian sect was Yuan Guanglaozu, who had once been to the North Sea. Moreover, one of the three Crystal Palace disciples who had accompanied him was an old acquaintance of his, Zhang Shaji, who had once been defeated by his sword. After Yunjian had woken up, he had told Lu Ping about the appearance of the Crystal Palace's cultivators. When he heard that Zhang Shiji's cultivation had already reached the peak of the core forging realm and that he had injured Fan Yuqing during a sneak attack, Lu Ping was greatly surprised. He secretly sighed that he was not the only one who could improve his cultivation in just a few decades. After Zhang Shiji had been defeated by his sword in the North Sea, he had obviously had his own opportunities. Both sides did not make this secret fight public. This time, the Tianqian sect had lost 2 direct disciples at the peak of the core forging realm and 3 were seriously injured, including 2 direct disciples at the Dharma phase. On the side of the 5 Holy Lands, Fan Yuqing had also died, and Zhu Zhuan Tower's Zhu Zhuan had also been injured by a direct disciple at the Dharma phase from the Crystal Palace. In any case, this was only a contest between the 2 sides' 3rd-generation disciples. After Qing Li Laozu realized that he had made a mistake, he ran to help, but he did not attack the 5 Holy Lands emissaries. Instead, he allowed the 5 of them to come to the Tianqian ancient city. This time, the spiritual item trade fair of the various sects became grand. Not only did the 6 great sects send emissaries to participate, but there were also many cultivators who released news that they wanted to exchange some rare treasures in the cultivation world for high-grade spiritual items. Among them, the most eye-catching was the appearance of the purple crystal royal jelly, which had disappeared from the cultivation world for thousands of years. The owner of the jelly claimed that he wanted to use it to exchange for the heaven-level spiritual item, the Thunder Punishment Water. The calamity of Mara was approaching day by day. Raising one's cultivation and increasing one's strength had become the main theme of the cultivation world. However, the main force of the cultivation world to resist the calamity of Mara was not the Dharma adepts, but the even larger number of core forging stage adepts. Many core forging realm cultivators were often stuck at a bottleneck due to the scarcity of spiritual items. Therefore, following the Pure Yang Spell Conference of 7 Fans Laozu, the Tianqian sect's spiritual item trade fair came into being. Chapter 836. After Lu Ping came out of the hut and looked back, he saw that the underground palace was densely packed with hundreds of these coffin-like huts. Moreover, there was a constant stream of black-clothed and cloaked cultivators coming out of the huts and gathering at the front of the palace. Then, they were led by the heavenly profound sect disciples to the small huts that were 2 feet in size. Every cultivator that entered the underground palace was assigned a small hut. In the small hut, the cultivators could prepare the spirit items that they wanted to trade, as well as the chips that they wanted to exchange for the spirit items. For a period of time, the cultivators could display the items in their respective huts to attract people to trade. At the same time, the cultivators could also visit the huts of other cultivators to find what they needed. This was something new for Lu Ping, but this time, although he wanted to exchange for some spirit items for Zhenling, in the end, he was only one person. He could not compare to the hundreds of cultivators that represented their own sects and forces. Therefore, from the beginning, Lu Ping did not think that he could exchange for spirit items on a large scale. His idea was very simple. As long as he could exchange for a few spirit items that he urgently needed, it would be fine. Of course, if there really was a high-grade spirit item that was heaven class or above, Lu Ping would not be stingy with spirit items like the amethyst royal jelly. However, Lu Ping would not be so righteous. After bringing these spirit items back to Zhenling, he thought that the Laozu and the sect would not let him suffer a loss. Since the official trade would only begin the next day, the cultivators that entered the underground palace were deliberately decorating their own huts, hoping to attract more cultivators to trade. Lu Ping did not rush to decorate his own exhibition hut. Instead, he used an array disc to set up a simple array in the hut. After that, the entire hut was isolated by the array that Lu Ping had set up. At this time, Lu Ping finally relaxed and took out the storage magic treasure that he had obtained from Fan Yuqing. Although Qing Laozu and the others already knew that Lu Ping had killed Fan Yuqing, because of the deliberate concealment of the Tianqian sect's Laozu, the Tianqian sect did not know that Lu Ping was the biggest culprit in killing Fan Yuqing. Instead, they were full of resentment towards the Tianqian sect. The Great Mystery Thorn was a spirit-nurturing treasure that had condensed 9 seals. It was Fan Yuqing's personal treasure. However, due to the repeated heavy injuries it had sustained during the battle, this top-notch treasure had been damaged in many places. Its power was no longer as great as before. The refining method of the 18 weapons magic treasure was a secret of the Supreme Profound Sect. Even if Lu Ping wanted to repair this rare top-notch spirit-nurturing magic treasure, he would not know where to start. Even so, this magic treasure could be considered as a rare treasure. It wasn't easy to open an Avatar Realm Cultivator's interspatial mystic instrument. Fortunately, Lu Ping's divine sense was strong enough. After a few days of hard work, he finally managed to remove the seal on the interspatial mystic instrument's mouth. But this also made Lu Ping look forward to finding the treasures inside. As his divine will entered the magic treasure, Lu Ping's eyes lit up. Previously, when the Tianqian sect had denounced the Tianqian sect for killing Fan Yuqing, they had claimed that Fan Yuqing had entered the Tianqian ancient city to celebrate 7 Fan Laozu's Pure Yang Prayer Conference and to participate in the Tianqian City Spirit Treasure Exchange. Whether the Tianqian sect's words were true or not, Lu Ping did not know. However, there were indeed many treasures inside. Lu Ping directly picked out 5 types of spirit treasures, a total of 9, and put them into his own storage magic treasure. Among the 5 spirit treasures, there were 2 low-grade Earth-level spirit treasures and 2 mid-grade Earth-level spirit treasures. Only the Heart of 7 Orifices was of high-grade Earth-level, and there was only enough for 1. Unfortunately, there were no heaven-level spirit treasures. Lu Ping was a little disappointed as he picked out 7 more spirit treasures. However, there were only 2 that were above mid-grade. With a flash of lightning in his hand, these 2 spirit treasures were swallowed by the Thunder Gem Calabash. Because it had been nourished by the Thunder Tribulation Water, the calabash's speed of digesting spirit treasures had increased. However, it had also become more picky about the quality of the spirit treasures. Under Laozu's Thunder Tribulation, the calabash had condensed 3 spirit treasures, and the number of spirit treasures it could swallow and refine had increased from 21 to 35. However, the additional 14 spirit treasures needed to be at least mid-grade or above, and they had to be 2 of each of the 7 elements. Until now, Lu Ping still had not managed to collect all of these spirit treasures. The 12 spirit stones were a pleasant surprise to Lu Ping. Previously, Lu Ping had also had the experience of killing Dharma adepts, but to be able to obtain 3 to 5 spirit stones was already very impressive. With these 12 top-grade spirit stones, Lu Ping now had more than 20 top-grade spirit stones in his possession. This was a considerable amount of wealth for a mid-Dharma adept. This time, being able to obtain 12 spirit stones at once was somewhat beyond Lu Ping's expectations. The Taishan sect was indeed a large sect. Although they had always been suppressed by the Tianqian sect in the plains, their wealth was not something that Zhenling could compare with. And Fan Yuqing was one of the top 3rd-generation disciples of the Taishan sect, and he was also one of the best among his peers in the entire world of practice. It was only natural that he would have so many spirit stones on him, but now it all belonged to Lu Ping alone. An escape talisman was held in Lu Ping's hand, and in front of Lu Ping, there was a total of 6 escape talisman weapons. An escape talisman weapon was different from an escape talisman. Although both sealed the space magic of Dharma adepts, a talisman weapon could be used repeatedly, while a talisman was only a one-time item, and its value was naturally far lower than an escape talisman weapon. However, finding 7 escape talisman weapons on Fan Yuqing was already amazing enough. Furthermore, with Fan Yuqing's Dharma level of practice, these escape talisman weapons were no longer of any use to him. Could it be that Fan Yuqing was really planning to participate in the spirit item trade fair, and these escape talisman weapons were used to exchange for spirit items? If that was the case, Fan Yuqing should have a large number of similar treasures on him. Indeed, Lu Ping rummaged around and found a sandalwood box sealed with a spirit sealing talisman. Lu Ping gently opened the talisman, and there were actually 3 large and 7 small pearls shining with spirit chi. It was a spirit gathering pearl. Lu Ping chuckled strangely. Without hesitation, he resealed the box and put it into his interspatial mystic artifact. In the North Sea, Spirit veins were scarce, and there was no reason to use spirit gathering pearls to exchange for spirit items. This kind of situation only happened in the central mainland. After seeing the 10 bottles of Dharma-level elixirs, Lu Ping could finally confirm that Fan Yuqing was really here for the spirit item trade fair. No matter how rich the central mainland was, there was no reason for a Dharma adept to bring 10 bottles of Dharma-level elixirs with him at once. 3,000-year-old spirit herbs were so scarce that every sect would treat Transcendence Realm spirit pellets as treasures. Not to mention, Lu Ping could tell at a glance that among the 10 bottles of Transcendence spirit pellets marked with the Supreme Xian Sect's logo, 3 of them were pills that could only be consumed by mid-Transcendence Realm cultivators. Fan Yuqing was only an early Dharma adept, and there was no reason for the Taishan sect to distribute these elixirs in advance. There were also many other valuable items that appeared in batches. It was a pity that although these items were not cheap, there were not many that could make Lu Ping's eyes light up. If they were to be used for trade, it would be difficult to exchange them for some dark-level spiritual items. Lu Ping simply let DeBeo out and ordered him to sort out the techniques, treasures, spirit herbs, elixirs, and so on. He then began to arrange his own items to be displayed, so that when the trade fair started tomorrow, it would be easier for Lu Ping to exchange for the spirit items that he wanted. DeBeo was the most experienced in doing these things, and he was also the happiest. Very soon, DeBeo gave Lu Ping another surprise. After receiving the 300 upper-level spirit stones from DeBeo, Lu Ping left the remaining 20 or so upper-level spirit stones for DeBeo, but he saw DeBeo take out a jade scroll with a grin and say, "Boss, I missed something." Lu Ping's eyes lit up and he said, "What good thing is it?" As he said this, he took the jade scroll from DeBeo's hand and used his divine consciousness to look at it. His eyebrows immediately rose up, and then a smile overflowed from the corner of his mouth. "I didn't expect to get an elixir cauldron from Fan Yuqing." Hee, that's right. This magic-level elixir cauldron is a treasure even in the Central Land. I heard that the Taishan sect has accumulated for more than 10,000 years, but they only have 2 magic elixir cauldrons. The Taishan sect has 3, and only one of them has condensed 3 treasures, and it is only one step away from the psychic treasure cauldron. It can be seen that this elixir cauldron is also a secret treasure in the Central Land. I didn't expect to find one on Fan Yuqing. Lu Ping carefully looked at the complex lines of the elixir cauldron recorded in the jade scroll. After a moment, he said happily, "Yes, this treasure is not the same as the 2 treasures that our sect currently has. In this way, our sect can collect 3 different elixir cauldrons, and in the future, we can also have a top magic elixir cauldron." Jinling currently had 2 elixir cauldrons. One was originally obtained by Lu Ping and presented to the sect. Tianlu and Tianjiang Laozu borrowed Lu Ping's Na Chuan cauldron and upgraded it to the first magic elixir cauldron of Jinling. After that, Lu Ping once again obtained an elixir cauldron, but this elixir cauldron was still a bit unclear to him, so he had not handed it over to the sect. Later, at the Huanling auction, Tianqin Laozu spent a huge amount of money to buy another elixir cauldron. At that time, Lu Ping did not say anything to stop him. Therefore, Jinling could currently only master 2 elixir cauldron treasures. After the newly obtained elixir cauldron was presented to the sect, it could just push the elixir cauldron magic treasure to the peak of the ordinary magic treasure level. Of course, the promotion of the elixir cauldron magic treasure could not be successful just with the elixir cauldron. Otherwise, the Tianxian sect, which had a heritage of nearly 20,000 years, would not only have 1 elixir cauldron with 3 elixir cauldrons, but the other 2 elixir cauldrons with 2 and 1 elixir cauldrons respectively. Moreover, the nobility of her bloodline was no less than Samling's. Naturally, her cultivation also soared. She was now at the 3rd stage of the core forging stage. If she wanted to advance to the mid-core forging stage, she would need at least a mid-grade earth spirit treasure. However, among the spirit treasures obtained from Fan Yuqing yesterday, there was a mid-grade earth spirit treasure, Yiwood Lingji. This saved Lu Ping a lot of effort. As for Lu Ping's newest spirit pet, Lu Xiaohai of the Hanging Eyes White-Fronted Tiger clan, it hadn't even reached the core forging realm yet. Although Lu Ping had 2 portions of Earth-grade low-grade Qiangang liquid from the perished secret realm, it seemed like he wouldn't have enough Qiangang liquid for the little tiger to break through to the mid-core forging realm. Along the way, Lu Ping could see several kinds of heaven and earth spirit treasures in almost every exhibition hall. Under each kind of heaven and earth spirit treasures was a jade slip, which listed in detail what the exhibitor wanted to exchange for it. However, each exhibition hall had a variety of treasures on display. Under these treasures, the treasures were marked with the heaven and earth spirit treasures that they wanted to exchange for. Along the way, Lu Ping admired the various heaven and earth spirit treasures and heaven and earth spirit treasures that appeared in each of the exhibition halls. He felt that the experience and knowledge of his 100 years of cultivation couldn't compare to what he had seen and heard today. However, Lu Ping didn't stop for long. Instead, he walked towards the central pavilions of the underground palace. These pavilions were clearly of a higher standard than the ordinary exhibition halls. According to the information he had obtained from the Profound Sky sect, during the first few days of the trade fair, the cultivators from the various sects would not bring out their trump cards. Instead, they would clearly mark the heaven and earth spirit treasures that they wanted to exchange for in the exhibition halls so that those who needed them could prepare. On the other hand, the 7 pavilions in the central part of the underground palace didn't have to worry too much. These 7 pavilions were the exhibition areas occupied by the Profound Sky sect, the 5 Holy Lands, and the Crystal Palace. Even if the treasures inside were not brought out, the quality and quantity of the treasures inside were clearly a level higher than the other exhibition halls. Along the way, however, Lu Ping noticed an interesting phenomenon. Normally, the exhibition halls that displayed the heaven and earth spirit treasures would list out the treasures that they wanted to exchange for. Lu Ping saw at least 17 to 18 of the exhibition halls. All of them had the amethyst royal jelly on the list of the most precious heaven and earth spirit treasures that they wanted to exchange for. It would appear that the news that Lu Ping released back in the Profound Sky ancient city had attracted the attention of quite a number of cultivators from the various sections. However, Lu Ping did not have that much amethyst royal jelly to exchange for those treasures. Besides, if too much of the amethyst royal jelly appeared, it would not be a good thing for Lu Ping. Thus, Lu Ping would only use it to exchange for some urgently needed treasures. The moment Lu Ping entered the Profound Sky Tower, he saw tens of cultivators surrounding the center of the tower. They seemed to be looking at something. Lu Ping walked over and saw a transparent shield. A clear and somewhat viscous liquid was flowing within a jade bowl made of chalcedony. Looking at the liquid within the jade bowl, Lu Ping revealed a look of surprise. Then, he heard a cultivator beside him mumble, "A whole portion of spirit vein essence milk, a high-grade heaven-tier water-type spirit item. I did not expect the Profound Sky sect to bring out such a treasure. It seems the rumor about the amethyst royal jelly is true." Lu Ping followed the gaze of the cultivator beside him and looked at the sign for the exchange of spirit vein essence milk. Only then did he see the words, "1 portion of spirit vein essence milk, high-grade heaven tier, in exchange for 3 portions of amethyst royal jelly." Lu Ping could not help but laugh. It seemed that the appearance of the amethyst royal jelly had touched the nerves of quite a number of people. However, with the exchange rate of 1 for 3, the Profound Sky sect was quite fair. At the very least, Xie Tianyang had used 1 portion of lightning tribulation elixir to exchange for 3 more bottles of amethyst royal jelly from Lu Ping. This spirit vein essence milk was formed in a giant spirit vein. Its spirituality was extremely gentle. It had always been the most ideal heaven-tier high-grade spirit item for cultivators condensing their golden core. On the other hand, the lightning tribulation elixir was the exact opposite. Its spirituality was so violent that it often made cultivators stay away from it. It was the most difficult item to condense among the heaven-tier high-grade spirit items. The biggest characteristic of cultivators who had refined the spirit vein essence milk was that their Jian Yuan recovery speed was the best among cultivators of the same level. In fact, the 10,000 Wonder Jade Nectar also had this effect. However, it was undoubtedly inferior to the spirit vein essence milk. Of course, the 10,000 Wonder Jade Nectar also had its unique characteristic. It was able to nurse and recover injuries on its own. This was something that other spirit items could not hope to achieve. However, There was an even more important reason why the spirit vein essence milk could become a heaven-tier high-grade spirit item and surpass the 10,000 Wonder Jade Nectar. The spirit vein essence milk could nourish a cultivator's divine sense, greatly enhancing it. However, after refining the 10,000 Wonder Jade Nectar, Lu Ping changed his mind. The North Sea Wave listening technique was originally composed of two parts. One was the sea wave listening technique that focused on the vigorous and thick Zhen Yuan, and the other was the soaring spirit sea treading technique that focused on the explosive strength of Zhen Yuan. However, after refining the myriad Wonder Jade Nectar, Lu Ping changed his mind. The North Sea Wave listening script was composed of two parts. One was the sea wave listening script, which focused on the density of one's true yuan, and the other was the flying spirit sea treading script, which focused on the explosive power of one's true yuan. When Lu Ping first refined a spirit item, he chose the profound essence heavy water, a heaven-tier spirit item. His Zhen Yuan's vigorous and thick Zhen Yuan was unparalleled among cultivators of the same level. After refining two portions of the 10,000 Wonder Jade Nectar, his Zhen Yuan's recovery speed was greatly enhanced. However, he was still lacking in the output and explosive strength of his Zhen Yuan. This deficiency was reflected in Lu Ping's strength. Among the North Sea's 12 techniques, the most tyrannical Sea of 100 Rivers Sword technique and Sea of Mulberry Fields technique had yet to reach the grand accomplishment stage. Lu Ping only stopped beside the spirit vein essence milk for a moment before looking at the other treasures on display in the pavilion. Since the spirit vein essence milk had already stated that it would not be exchanged for anything other than the amethyst royal jelly, Lu Ping did not have to worry about this treasure being taken away by others. Now that there were many eyes, Lu Ping did not want to reveal his royal jelly in front of others. Thunder Tribulation Water? Lu Ping was a little surprised to see a jade bottle under the transparent barrier. If the lightning flashing inside was not a thunder tribulation technique, then what was it? However, Lu Ping soon discovered that there were only 4 drops of thunder tribulation water in the jade bottle. Lu Ping looked at the items marked below. Unsurprisingly, the first item marked was also the amethyst royal jelly. Lu Ping was deep in thought. He hurriedly looked at the items on display in the Tianqian Pavilion and walked to the 5-element pavilion. After a while, Lu Ping went to the 9 profound pavilion, the Purple Sun Pavilion, the Crystal Pavilion, and the other 6 pavilions. Apart from the Purple Sun Pavilion, the other 5 pavilions each had 4 drops of Thunder Tribulation Water. Adding the 4 drops in the Tianqian Pavilion, it just so happened to be an entire portion of Thunder Tribulation Water. Moreover, the items marked below the Thunder Tribulation Water were all amethyst royal jelly. Lu Ping's first reaction was that this was probably a trap for him. This discovery immediately made Lu Ping lose his interest in expanding his knowledge in the various exhibition rooms. He worriedly returned to his own exhibition room. Lu Ping did not think that this was a so-called agreement between the Tianqian sect and the several large sections. Lu Ping believed that this was a trap specifically set up for him to lure Lu Ping out. As long as they could grasp Lu Ping's identity, these large sects would have plenty of ways to exploit the amethyst royal jelly on Lu Ping. Fortunately, Xie Tianyang did not reveal his identity. Otherwise, people would have come looking for Lu Ping long ago. The Tianqian sect would also not be so polite to him just because he saved Yunjian. However, he did not know what reason Xie Tianyang used to cover up the news that the Thunder Tribulation Water had disappeared from the Purple Sun Palace. This time, he could not bring out the amethyst royal jelly. Otherwise, it would attract the attention of these large sections. If they were to do something to the Thunder Tribulation Water, he would probably die without a burial. Lu Ping hurriedly returned to his exhibition room and was stunned by the scene in front of him. He didn't know when, but there were more than a dozen cultivators gathered in front of his exhibition room and they were discussing something. Chapter 838. When Lu Ping saw the dozen or so cultivators gathered in front of his exhibition hut, he was shocked. He thought that these cultivators had come for the purple crystal royal jelly. However, Lu Ping immediately remembered that he had not placed the purple crystal royal jelly in the hut, and his identity had not been exposed. It was impossible for these people to know that he was the owner of the purple crystal royal jelly. Obviously, he had been caught in the act of the Tianqian sect, the Wuxing school, and the other 4 major sections. Lu Ping walked forward casually, pretending to be a cultivator who had been attracted by the crowd. When he got closer, he heard 2 cultivators discussing something in a low voice. Lu Ping saw that the 2 cultivators did not use any spells to transmit their voices. He stretched his neck and looked into the hut. At the same time, he spread his divine sense around the 2 cultivators. Soon, he heard their conversation. "Brother Luo, are you sure you are not mistaken?" "Absolutely. Those talismans are indeed restriction-breaking talismans. Moreover, there are 4 colors in them. They should be authentic 4-color restriction-breaking talismans." 4-color restriction-breaking talismans? If we have this thing, we can definitely break that formation. 1 talisman is not enough. If these 3 talismans are used together, there is still hope. Unless we can find a 5-color restriction-breaking talisman. 5-color restriction-breaking talisman? Those who can obtain authentic restriction-breaking talismans and make 5-color restriction-breaking talismans are all famous sects in the cultivation world. Why would they need to exchange 5-color restriction-breaking talismans for a spirit treasure? You are right. However, there are only 3 4-color restriction-breaking talismans here. Moreover, the exhibitor has clearly marked that a 4-color restriction-breaking talisman can be exchanged for a mid-grade earth spirit treasure. Moreover, it is a wood attribute spirit treasure. If we exchange all 3 talismans together, we will need a wood attribute high-grade earth spirit treasure. It is very valuable. If it's really able to deal with that restriction, then a mid-grade earth-rank spirit treasure would absolutely be worth it. However, although we have a mid-grade earth spirit treasure, we do not have a wood attribute spirit treasure. Let's go and ask Old Fan for it. I heard that he has a wood attribute spirit treasure. If we can exchange it, I will owe him a favor. You have a way? That's for the best. The exhibits in this hut are all rare. Now that so many people have gathered here, I wonder if there will be more people coming. Let's go quickly, in case someone else beats us to it. Old Fan is a shrewd man. I'm just afraid that he'll guess something and want a piece of the pie. When Lu Ping saw the 2 of them leaving in a hurry, he guessed that they were going to look for wood-type earth-grade phase. This made Lu Ping rather happy. This time, Lu Taohua's advancement to the mid-stage core forging realm was settled. It could be considered a good start. When Lu Ping turned around again, he saw a cultivator walking out from the crowd towards a jade bottle covered by a transparent barrier placed in the middle of the hut. At the bottom of the jade bottle, Lu Ping's note was clear. Minor Forging Spirit Pill, made from Mu Forging Spirit Pill. It improves the quality of heaven and earth spirit treasures that a cultivator can refine. However, its effect is only a quarter of that of a real spirit forging pill, and each person can only take 3. There are only 3 minor forging spirit pills in this bottle. You can exchange for 3 mid-grade earth-grade spirit treasures, or 1 high-grade earth-grade spirit treasure of any element. The cultivator paced back and forth in front of the transparent barrier for a moment. After a while, he finally made up his mind and took out 3 boxes that were tightly sealed with spirit sealing talismans from his storage magic tool. Under the expectant gazes of the crowd, the cultivator opened the 3 boxes one by one. Some of the more knowledgeable people in the crowd immediately handed over the names of the items in the boxes. Mid-grade earth-grade spirit treasure, wind-facing branch. This is soft jade steel, also mid-grade earth-grade. Glazed stone, earth-grade. The cultivator placed the 3 mid-grade earth-ranked spirit items on the stone platform where the jade bottles were placed. Lu Ping stood in the middle of the crowd and with a thought. The stone platform glowed brightly. When the light dimmed, the 3 spirit items were gone. The transparent barrier around the stone platform opened up, revealing the jade bottles containing the little forging spirit pellets. The cultivator picked up the jade bottle and walked out. Some of the cultivators in the crowd couldn't help but say, "Don't go. Are the things in the bottle real or fake? Don't tell me you've been fooled." The cultivator didn't stop. No matter how the cultivators in the crowd shouted and even cursed him, he didn't turn around and walked away without a trace. There were a few cultivators in the crowd who were tempted by Lu Ping's introduction of the minor forging spirit pills. However, they were worried that they would be fooled. It wasn't easy to wait for someone to come, but he was very cautious. After exchanging the minor forging spirit pills, he didn't even look at them and hurried away. It wasn't that there weren't any pills in the cultivation world that could increase the quality of a core forging cultivator's heaven and earth spirit treasures. According to Lu Ping's knowledge, there were no less than 10 types of pills. The only difference was the quality of the pills. Among these pills, the most famous one was the publicly recognized spirit forging pill of the Fei Ling sect. Unfortunately, this kind of pill was lost 4,000 years ago with the destruction of Fei Ling sect. Later, many cultivators tried to imitate the spirit forging pill, and some were able to refine a pill with 10% or 20% of the effect of the spirit forging pill. However, until now, there was no one in the cultivation world who was able to refine the spirit forging pill. Of course, the news of Lu Ping obtaining the complete recipe of the spirit forging pill and refining it had been sealed by Zhenling. Even in Zhenling, only a few Laozu knew about it. This minor forging spirit pill was created by Lu Ping using the vitality dew as a catalyst. It was a recipe that he had obtained from the last disciple of the Ying Tian sect, Laozu Qingjian. The minor forging spirit pill that was refined this way only had a quarter of the effect of the real spirit forging pill. 3 minor forging spirit pills added together couldn't compare to one real spirit forging pill. Even so, this minor forging spirit pill was considered an extraordinary existence in the cultivation world. One had to know that a complete spirit forging pill could allow a cultivator, who could originally only refine one low-grade heaven-level spirit item, to refine 2 low-grade heaven-level spirit items. The quality of the condensed golden core would be greatly improved. Although it wouldn't be able to reach the level of an 8th-grade golden core, it would at least give the cultivator a chance to break through to the mid-Dharma stage in the future. At that time, Hua Tianshan, Liang Tianfeng, and Chu Tiancheng could only refine one low-grade heaven-grade spiritual item and achieve the standard of an ordinary 7th-grade golden core. If they wanted to refine 2 low-grade heaven-grade spiritual items, the 3 of them would probably have to accumulate more than 100 years of hard work. It was because of the spirit forging pill that Lu Ping had brought out from Failing Mountain that the 3 of them could refine 2 low-grade heaven-level spirit items. It only took them a few decades to successfully condense their Dharma power. This also allowed the rise of Zhenling to be brought forward by 100 years. Lu Ping had once tried to improve the minor forging spirit pill and greatly improved its effect. However, because he later obtained the complete inheritance of the spirit forging pill, and because the spirit herbs used to improve the minor forging spirit pill were too expensive, compared to the complete spirit forging pill, the gains didn't make up for the losses. Therefore, this time, he didn't refine the improved minor forging spirit pill. Otherwise, it would have caused an even bigger uproar. In fact, the 5 Holy Lands and the Crystal Palace didn't have similar spirit pills. Moreover, for a cultivator to refine heaven and earth spirit items, it was probably even more effective than the minor forging spirit pill. It was comparable to the minor forging spirit pill that Lu Ping had improved. However, the price of exchanging for it was definitely higher. Just like Lu Ping's minor forging spirit pill, using a mid-grade earth spirit item to exchange for one minor forging spirit pill, the price was simply unimaginable. Spirit Water Meridian Nurturing Pill. What kind of pill is this? Does the cultivation world really have a method to refine pills with spirit water? A cultivator who clearly had a deep understanding of alchemy had been observing the 5 pills in a jade box placed on another stone platform. He was also carefully reading the label that Lu Ping had written on the bottom of the jade box. The Spirit Water Meridian Nurturing Pill wasn't placed in a jade bottle like the minor forging spirit pill. Instead, Lu Ping had placed it in an open jade box. The cultivator could check the quality of the pill through a transparent barrier. For the 5 Spirit Water Meridian Nurturing Pills, the price that Lu Ping had quoted was a high-grade earth spirit item. The Spirit Water Meridian Nurturing Pill was a holy healing pill. In terms of healing effects, it couldn't even compare to the Bell Cauldron pill that Lu Ping had placed on another platform. However, the magic of the Spirit Water Meridian Nurturing Pill was its long-lasting healing effect. During the healing process, it wouldn't cause any side effects to the already weak body of a seriously injured cultivator. Moreover, this pill had a very special effect on those who were on the verge of collapsing. The soul return pill was a pill that most cultivators were familiar with. However, only Grandmaster-level alchemists were able to refine this kind of medicinal pill. This was because this medicinal pill used the soul-devouring crystal of devil cultivators as a medicinal guide. The soul-returning pill was also refined to target cultivators who had their spiritual sense severely damaged by the soul-devouring crystal of devil cultivators. As the calamity of Demon Luo approached, the resurrection pill became something that the world of cultivation urgently needed. However, demonic cultivators would usually self-destruct their soul-devouring crystals when they died. Thus, the soul-devouring crystals were extremely rare. Coupled with the fact that the resurrection pill was extremely difficult to concoct, the resurrection pill became quite valuable in the world of cultivation. When Lu Ping broke out of the western barren grasslands, he joined forces with sixth brother Lei, Samling, and Lu Qiner to kill nearly 100 Mara. Among them, there were more than 10 demonic cultivators. However, the 9 soul-devouring crystals that Lu Ping obtained were obtained by killing demonic cultivators with a sneak attack. Unfortunately, the soul return pills that Lu Ping displayed were refined from the soul-devouring crystals of a demonic cultivator at the core forging stage. They could only heal cultivators who had been severely injured by the demonic cultivator's soul-devouring magic. If they encountered a cultivator who had been severely injured by the demonic cultivator's soul-devouring magic, then the soul return pills that Lu Ping refined would be of no help. Even so, these soul return pills still caused the cultivators present to become restless. This was because the price that Lu Ping had marked below each soul return pill was not high. One soul return pill could only be exchanged for a high-grade mystic-level spirit item. A mid-grade earth-level spirit item could be exchanged for all 9 soul return pills. Chapter 839. If it wasn't for the strict rules of the Profound Sky Sect, which required every participant to display at least 3 heaven and earth spirit items in their respective huts, and at least one of them had to be earth grade, Lu Ping wouldn't have taken out his heaven and earth spirit items no matter what. In fact, Lu Ping's worries weren't unfounded. Among the 3 spirit items on display in the shop, only one was a low-grade earth spirit item that he obtained after Fan Yuqing's death. The other 2 were mystic spirit items that Lu Ping had previously acquired. One was a high-grade mystic spirit item, and the other was a mid-grade mystic spirit item. Even so, these 3 heaven and earth spirit items were exchanged for Lu Ping's marked items in half a day's time. These 3 heaven and earth spirit items brought to Lu Ping a mid-grade heaven and earth spirit item, a box of wolf venom tooth liquid, and 100 3,000-year spirit herbs. At the same time, this meant that Lu Ping had to display 3 heaven and earth spirit items on the second day in order to comply with the Profound Sky Sect's rules. Otherwise, Lu Ping would have no choice but to withdraw. In fact, it wasn't just Lu Ping. All the heaven and earth spirit items on display in the underground palace, if it wasn't for the fact that the items being exchanged were too rare, like the Profound Sky Sect using the Spirit Vein Essence Milk to exchange for the Amethyst Royal Bee Jelly. In other words, this spirit item exchange would last for 3 days. Most cultivators would have to prepare at least 9 heaven and earth spirit items to exchange for, and among these 9 heaven and earth spirit items, at least 3 had to be earth grade. After the first day of the trade fair, many cultivators were only able to trade for 1 or 2 heaven and earth spirit items. Many cultivators even returned empty-handed. As for the 3 spirit items in their own exhibition rooms, they were all sold. As a result, many cultivators with low wealth lost the qualifications to stay in the underground palace. However, the number of cultivators participating in the trade fair on the second day did not decrease. At that moment, there was no telling how many cultivators were still participating in the trade fair in Arcane Sky Ancient City. Naturally, the disqualified cultivators would be replaced by other cultivators. On the first day, Lu Ping didn't take the initiative to trade for any phase. Even so, the restriction-breaking talisman, minor forged spirit elixir, spirit water meridian nourishing elixir, soul return elixir, and other items were all displayed in the exhibition room. Lu Ping managed to trade for 8 earth phase. Among them, There were 3 low-grade earth phase, 4 mid-grade earth phase, and 1 high-grade earth phase. The other items on display, such as cultivation pills, 3 years prolonging life pills, spiritual treasures that he had no use for, some low-grade natural oddities, second-grade mutated spiritual materials, and so on, were the spoils of war that Lu Ping had obtained from the cultivators that he had slain over the years. Because Lu Ping had no use for most of them, he took them out to trade. However, there were only a few people interested in these items. Only the 3 years prolonging life pills and 2 spiritual treasures were exchanged for a few mystic phase, which was considered better than nothing. However, Lu Ping had ingeniously placed 400 high-grade spirit stones on a stone table. He stated that he wanted to trade for a mid-grade earth fey. He didn't expect that someone would actually use a mid-grade earth fey, rainbow water, to trade for these 400 high-grade spirit stones. This caused Lu Ping to be pleasantly surprised. On the second day, Lu Ping had obtained the complete restriction-breaking talisman inheritance from the Surplus Heavens faction during this period of time. He had only managed to create 10 restriction-breaking talismans. Apart from the 3 4-colored restriction-breaking talismans that were exchanged on the first day, he took out the remaining 7 restriction-breaking talismans. Of these 7 restriction-breaking talismans, 4 were 3-colored restriction-breaking talismans, and the remaining 3 were 4-colored restriction-breaking talismans. They were used to trade for a low-grade earth fey and a mid-grade earth fey. There were only 7 small forging spirit pills left, but Lu Ping felt that he had suffered a loss the day before. Therefore, this time, he directly called for a low-grade heaven fey. The small forging spirit pills required a lot of 3,000-year spirit herbs. In the past few years, Lu Ping had been accumulating 3,000-year spirit herbs for when he entered the transcendent stage. In addition, Lu Ping had already mastered the method of making the spirit forging pill. Therefore, he did not deliberately make the small forging spirit pills. The spiritual water cultivating pill was still 5 pills, and the price was 1 high-grade earth fey. He didn't know if anyone would be interested in the spiritual water cultivating pill. Without the soul-devouring crystal, naturally, there would be no more soul-returning pills. However, after some thought, Lu Ping took out an incense burner from his storage ring. That year, when Lu Ping had first used the teleporter from the North Sea to the Middle Earth, he had first obtained 31 pieces of calming soul incense from the Clear Stream Cave. Then, he had obtained this incense burner from the Surplus Heavens Temple. There were 25 pieces of calming soul incense, 20 pieces of calming soul incense, and 12 pieces of the most precious soul-nourishing incense. After that, he had obtained 12 pieces of towering soul trees from the winter space of the Surplus Heavens Ancient Mirror, which were used to make these 3 types of precious incense. These 3 types of incense were recognized as the top 3 in the world of practice. The calming soul incense was the lowest, and the soul-nourishing incense was the most precious. However, even the most inferior calming soul incense was a famous luxury item in the world of practice. Only Dharma adepts could afford it. Lu Ping opened a drawer under the incense burner. There were 47 pieces of calming soul incense in it. Originally, there were 25 pieces in the drawer. Including the 31 pieces that he had obtained from the Clear Stream Cave, there were 56 pieces in total. However, over the years, Lu Ping had intermittently used up 8 or 9 pieces in the process of his closed-door training. Lu Ping directly took out 20 pieces from the drawer and placed them on the stone platform. He then activated the protective shield. The label stated, "Calming Soul Incense, made from the branches of the towering soul tree, mixed with mid-grade soul-nourishing wood, and other precious materials. Once lit, it can calm the mind and chi, nourish the soul, and cultivate Dharma power. It is an essential item for closed-door training and understanding of remarkable techniques." Willing to exchange for a low-grade heaven-level spiritual item, Lu Ping did not think that using 20 pieces of incense to exchange for a low-grade, heaven-level spiritual item was too much of an exaggeration. In fact, from the jade scroll that Lu Ping had obtained from the Surplus Heavens Temple, it was clearly stated that only Dharma adepts could truly bring out the full potential of these 3 types of incense. Therefore, when Lu Ping placed these 20 pieces of calming soul incense on the stone platform, it did not attract core forging adepts, but rather the Dharma adepts, Lao Tzu. After rearranging his own booth, Lu Ping hurriedly left the small exhibition house. This time, Lu Ping was going to take the initiative. He believed that by the next day, the various sects would also be bringing out some valuable heaven and earth spirit items. Hopefully, the conditions for exchange for these heaven and earth spirit items would not be too harsh. After Lu Ping no longer planned to bring out the purple crystal royal jelly, which was equivalent to the all-purpose essence oil, if he wanted to compete with others for these valuable heaven and earth spirit items, Lu Ping really did not have the confidence to win. However, if the conditions for exchange were really relaxed, then the number of cultivators who matched the conditions would definitely increase. In this way, the heaven and earth spirit items that Lu Ping wanted would definitely become more difficult. With such a contradictory mentality, Lu Ping wandered around the various exhibition houses, searching for the heaven and earth spirit items that matched his expectations. Originally, Lu Ping's plan was to go to the pavilion in the center of the underground palace to take a look. Although Lu Ping no longer had the intention to exchange for the Thunder Punishment Aqua, these sects from the sacred ground still had a lot of good things besides the Thunder Punishment Aqua. However, just as Lu Ping passed by a small house, he could not help but stop in his tracks. In front of the small house stood 4 to 5 cultivators. Initially, Lu Ping did not pay much attention to them. However, just as Lu Ping was about to miss them, he suddenly realized that these 4 or 5 cultivators were actually Dharma adepts, Lao Tzu. Although Lu Ping's divine will could not detect the identity or cultivation level of these people, the Dharma adepts could not hide their aura. Lu Ping's actions had obviously attracted the attention of the 4 or 5 people in front of the small house. A few of them turned to look at Lu Ping and did not pay much attention to him. Lu Ping simply walked over, not caring about their surprised, cold, or disdainful gazes. He directly began to look at the furnishings in the small house. The furnishings in the small house were extremely simple. 2 low-grade mystic spirit items were placed on one side, and on the other side, a low-grade earth spirit item had already been exchanged for. The owner of this small house was obviously very strict with the minimum requirements that the Tianqian sect had set for this spirit item trade fair. However, in this small house, the thing that really attracted Lu Ping's attention was a spirit flower that was placed on a stone table in the corner. The skeleton flower usually grew on ancient battlefields that were more than 1,000 years old. It was a type of spirit medicine that could increase the strength of a cultivator's physical body, especially for Dharma adepts. It also had the effect of cleaning up a cultivator's blood vessels, healing hidden injuries, and nurturing Dharma power. The skeleton flower could be said to be the main ingredient that Dharma adepts used to increase the strength of their bodies. When Lu Ping refined the spirit water nourishing pill for Wu Tianqing of the spirit beast sect, Lao Tzu, the main ingredient was the skeleton flower. The quality of the skeleton flower depended on the color of its petals. The longer the flower grew and bloomed, the more petals it had, and the more vibrant the color was. This skeleton flower had a total of 18 petals, and the color was as red as blood. It was full of spirit qi, which was a sign that the flower had bloomed for more than 1,800 years. The elixir refined from it could even increase the strength of a mid-Dharma adept's physical body. It was no wonder that it could attract the 5 Dharma adepts, Lao Tzu, here. Lu Ping had a pure jade fruit that he had obtained from the fallen secret land. It was also a spirit medicine that could increase the strength of one's physical body. However, compared to this skeleton flower, it was a notch lower. Furthermore, this skeleton flower was as red as blood. The spirit water nourishing pill, which was refined using the spirit water nourishing pill, was mainly used to increase the strength of a cultivator's bones. This was the hardest part of improving a cultivator's physical body. Among the few treasures that Lu Ping had collected that could increase the strength of the body, only the roots and lotus seeds of the level 9 white jade lotus were better than this skeleton flower. It was just that none of the 5 Lao Tzu had made a move to exchange for this item. It seemed that the sign that the owner of the hut had set up was either extremely unreasonable, or it was something that even the 5 Lao Tzu could not do anything about. Lu Ping bent down and looked at the label at the bottom of the flower. He couldn't help but be startled when he saw the words written on the label: 1,800-year-old blood skeleton flower, a spirit herb that can enhance one's physique. can be exchanged for 12 drops of wonder dew. No wonder. Chapter 840. Since the last time when the female cultivator of the green sea snakes, Chu Hailon, secretly used her natal snake venom to plot against Lu Ping, but it was dissolved by Lu Ping's myriad meteoric poison aura shield, Lu Ping began to pay attention to how to improve the quality of the myriad meteoric poison aura shield. Speaking of which, Lu Ping had already condensed 8 kinds of aura shields. As long as he condensed 9 kinds, he would be able to combine them into one and achieve the true Heaven Water Curtain Protection great magical ability. However, if he wanted to fuse all 9 kinds of aura shields, he would need to choose the most powerful aura shields as the main body to fuse. Only in this way could he ensure that after the successful smelting, the Heaven Water Curtain Protection great magical ability would be able to maximize its power. Among the 8 kinds of aura shields that Lu Ping had smelted, the one with the highest quality was undoubtedly the Myriad Meteoric Poison Aura Shield. Moreover, the most valuable thing was that the Myriad Poison Serum was known as the mother of all poisons. It could fuse all the poisons in the world into one furnace, and the quality of the Myriad Meteoric Poison Aura Shield formed by the Myriad Poison Serum could also be continuously improved by refining the poisons. On the first day of the spiritual item exchange, Lu Ping had once used a mid-grade profound rank spiritual item to exchange for a box of wolf venom tooth fluid. This wolf venom tooth fluid actually had nothing to do with wolves. It was a plant that grew in the scorching desert of the southwest. Because its shape was similar to a wolf's tooth, it was called wolf tooth fern. Whenever it was the hottest time of the day in the desert, the wolf fong fern would secrete a translucent but sticky liquid. This liquid was an extremely famous poison in the cultivation world. This was the wolf fong venom. The reason why Lu Ping exchanged for this venom was to improve the quality of the Myriad Meteoric Poison Aura Shield. It was to prepare for using the Myriad Meteoric Poison Aura Shield as the main body of the Heaven Water Curtain Protection great magical ability in the future. In fact, there was no need for so much wolf fong venom to improve his aura chi. Lu Ping exchanged for it to nourish the Myriad Poison Paste, and the purpose of nourishing the Myriad Poison Paste was for the Myriad Wonder Jade Nectar that was condensed in the Myriad Poison Paste. After Lu Ping had smelted a world spiritual object for the second time, only 3/4 of the Wonder Jade Nectar was left in the Myriad Poison Paste. Afterwards, Lu Ping had been running around everywhere, but he had rarely collected things like poisons. If he wanted to nourish the Wonder Jade Nectar, then he would need to fuse more highly toxic things with the Myriad Poison Paste. Lu Ping looked at the blood-red skull flower in front of him and thought to himself, if he were to use 12 drops of Myriad Wonder Jade Nectar to exchange for this thing, it might not be worth it in the eyes of others, but it wouldn't be a loss in the long run. This was especially so for a practitioner like Lu Ping, who had already smelted the Myriad Wonder Jade Nectar and still had some left. Furthermore, he could continuously obtain more Myriad Wonder Jade Nectar through the Myriad Poison Paste. This skull flower had become a treasure that could only be found by luck. In fact, the other Dharma adepts standing in front of the small house had similar thoughts. Although they did not have the Myriad Wonder Jade Nectar, the Myriad Wonder Jade Nectar only had 2 effects for them at this time: prolonging their lifespan and healing injuries. However, for these Dharma adepts, sometimes prolonging their lifespan was not important. What was more important was the lightning that came before their lifespan was up. If they could not survive the lightning, it would be a waste no matter how much Myriad Wonder Jade Nectar they consumed to prolong their lifespan. It was a pity that they clearly did not have the Myriad Wonder Jade Nectar on hand. Even if they had a few drops, they would not be able to reach the 12 drops of Myriad Wonder Jade Nectar that were marked by the exhibitors. Otherwise, Lu Ping believed that these practitioners would definitely not be stingy with their 12 drops of Myriad Wonder Jade Nectar in exchange for this skull flower. Lu Ping raised his head and looked behind him. Only then did he realize that 2 more practitioners had arrived in front of the small house. From afar, it seemed that there were 2 more practitioners who had received the news and were rushing over. Furthermore, these practitioners did not hide their auras at all. Their Dharma power was Laozu. Although the Myriad Wonder Jade Nectar was rare, it was hard to guarantee that Laozu did not have it on him. The reason why he did not exchange for it was probably because he did not have 12 drops of myriad wonder jade nectar on hand. Once these Laozu compromised, it was hard to guarantee that they would not join forces to buy the skull flower first. Then, they would invite an alchemy grandmaster to refine it into a pill and then divide it among themselves. The opportunity was fleeting. Lu Ping no longer had any scruples about these Dharma power Laozu. He immediately opened a small portal from his sleeve and reached into the golden house to fiddle with it. Then, he took out a jade essence bottle. Under the fiery gazes of the Dharma power Laozu behind him, he opened the jade essence bottle. The mouth of the bottle shone towards the transparent shield. The jade essence bottle disappeared, and the entire shield began to dissipate. Lu Ping held the skull flower in his hand. Finally, he heard someone behind him say, "Fellow Taoist, please wait." Lu Ping turned a deaf ear to it. His other hand had already taken out a jade box. After opening it, he was about to put the skull flower inside. A gust of cold wind came from behind him. Lu Ping stretched out his palm and waved it behind him. A ray of sword chi rushed out from his palm. The sword chi and the cold wind collided but dissipated into nothing. Lu Ping's body swayed a little, but he still managed to stand firm. A cultivator outside the small house let out a sound of surprise. The dissipating cold wind made his clothes flutter, but his body did not move in the slightest. Not only the cultivator who had made the move, but the other cultivators who were watching were also shocked. Although there was a concealment matrix set up by the Taishan sect to keep the identities of the cultivators in the underground palace a secret, this did not prevent the cultivators from judging the approximate level of cultivation of each other. It was just like how when Lu Ping saw these people, he had determined that they were Dharma adepts. When the few Laozu saw that a core forging stage cultivator had swaggered away with a treasure that they wanted but could not have, they could not help but feel an indescribable feeling in their hearts. Especially when they saw Lu Ping easily take out 12 drops of the Wonder Dew. This feeling became even stronger. After blocking this sneak attack, Lu Ping had already taken the opportunity to stick a spirit-sealing talisman on the jade box. Then, he threw it through the space portal in his sleeve into the House of Gold. With the treasure in hand, Lu Ping's heart relaxed a little. He then turned around to look at the cultivator who had just attacked him and said, "Fellow Taoist, what do you mean? Could it be that the rules set by the Taishan sect are like child's play in your eyes?" The rules of the Tianqian sect are naturally not child's play. A voice suddenly rang out, and then a space portal opened. Qingli Laozu had already walked out from inside, and his gaze swept coldly over the cultivators, including Lu Ping. Although they knew that this gaze had not seen through their identities, the aura of a great cultivator still shocked everyone present. Qingli Laozu glanced at Lu Ping, then turned his gaze back to the cultivator who had attacked Lu Ping. He said, "The Tianqian sect has set up a matrix in this underground palace. As long as there is a fight between cultivators, it will be immediately detected. Please do not make a mistake." Lu Ping bowed slightly and thanked him. "Thank you, Senior. I will take my leave now." Lu Ping did not want to stay here any longer. If he stayed too long, there was no guarantee that Qingli Laozu would not be able to discover his identity. So, after thanking Qingli Laozu, he was about to leave. He believed that at this time, with Qingli Laozu present, the other Laozu would not dare to make things difficult for him, even if they were unwilling. Seeing that Lu Ping was about to leave, the Laozu who had attacked Lu Ping earlier moved slightly. He felt an overwhelming pressure that scared him out of his wits. When he looked up, he saw that Qingli Laozu was looking at him disdainfully, as if he was waiting for him to show off his power. The cultivator's throat moved, but in the end, he did not have the guts to stop him. Instead, the other Laozu said, "Fellow cultivator, please wait." Seeing the Qingli patriarch's gaze on him, the cultivator hurriedly said, "We have no ill intentions. It's just that this skeleton flower is too precious." This fellow Taoist acted too hastily in a moment of desperation. "Please forgive us." This Laozu saw that Qingli Laozu was surprised after hearing about the skeleton flower. He laughed and said, "This skeleton flower is blood red. It is clearly a top treasure. If you want to refine it into a pill, You must have a master alchemist. Coincidentally, the old man knows two master alchemists. If you don't mind, the old man can introduce you. Of course, the old man and the others will not deny that we also want a share of the pill refined from this skeleton flower. However, we will naturally pay the appropriate price and will not let you suffer a loss. After this, Laozu finished speaking. He looked at Qingli Laozu and said, "If fellow cultivator is worried, we can let Senior Qingli be the middleman. What do you think?" Lu Ping looked at Qingli Laozu and didn't speak. This Laozu was obviously trying to drag Laozu Qingli into this. Since they wanted a grand cultivator to be the middleman, they naturally had to pay a high price. At the very least, they had to have one of the pills refined. Sure enough, Qingli Laozu pondered for a moment and said, "If fellow cultivator is interested, then the old man can be the middleman. If fellow cultivator is still worried, then my mysterious sky sect has an alchemist who will not allow your pill to go to waste." Laozu felt bitter in his heart. He expected Qingli Laozu to agree, but he didn't expect Qingli Laozu to involve his sect's alchemist. This way, the mysterious sky sect would naturally get more benefits. However, the people here didn't dare to say anything in front of Qingli Laozu. They all looked at Lu Ping. Lu Ping stood there and pondered for a moment. Then, he suddenly laughed in a low voice. His clothes suddenly fluttered, and a medicinal aroma immediately filled the air within a radius of 100 feet. Every alchemist would more or less collect the pill fragrance emitted when the pill left the furnace after a successful alchemy. This was because the pill fragrance was the dispersal of the alchemy essence. If an alchemist collected this pill fragrance over time, not only could it promote the growth of their cultivation, but it could also be used to form some incredible magical abilities. Although it could not be compared to those used in life and death battles, it often had unexpected uses. The number of pill fragrances collected by an alchemist and the quality of the fragrances often represented the level of the alchemist's alchemy skills. Although the pill fragrance from Lu Ping's body was fleeting, how could an ordinary alchemist collect such a mellow and long-lasting pill fragrance? In the eyes of these old monsters who had lived for thousands of years, it only took a moment for them to confirm that this core forging cultivator was an alchemist. In an instant, everyone, including Qingli Laozu, looked at Lu Ping with a trace of respect. Chapter 841. As long as an alchemist had the status of a grandmaster, no matter how high or low his cultivation level was, he would have the qualifications to be on equal footing with Dharma adepts in the cultivation world. Lu Ping's identity as an alchemist grandmaster was revealed through the pill fragrance that was condensed on his body. No one, including Qing Li and Laozu, spoke a word. They could only watch as Lu Ping disappeared behind the small house in the distance and blended into the crowd of cultivators. Lu Ping's divine sense carefully combed through his body, including his black clothes and cloak. He found that there were no secret marks or secret techniques left on his body. Only then did he feel relieved and began to browse the rare treasures in the small houses on both sides. Lu Ping first used 2 mystic mid-grade phase to exchange for 4 types of extremely famous poisons in the cultivation world. This time, he used 12 drops of wonder dew to exchange for the skeleton flower. Lu Ping did not have much wonder dew left in the myriad poison serum. He needed to use more poisons to fuse with the myriad poison serum. At the same time, it could be used to upgrade the myriad poison meteorite energy shield. It could be considered killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Immediately after, Lu Ping found a bottle of green sea snake venom in the Crystal Palace. The price was actually a low-grade earth-grade fey. Lu Ping could see that this was the life venom of a wood-type spirit snake that had reached the Dharma stage. The Crystal Palace and the green sea snake were the 2 major hostile forces in the East Sea. It was not surprising to see the venom of the green sea snake in the Crystal Palace. Using an earth-grade fey to exchange for the green sea snake venom, Lu Ping found that the 4 drops of Thunder Calamity water in the Crystal Palace still needed to be exchanged with the purple crystal royal jelly. Thus, he did not bother with it anymore. Out of the Crystal Palace, Lu Ping quickly found that he was actually being followed. However, to Lu Ping's surprise, the person following Lu Ping didn't seem to hide his tracks. He just followed behind Lu Ping at a distance of 30 feet. Now that he knew that the Profound Sky sect had set up a formation in the underground palace that could appear at any time to stop disputes between cultivators, Lu Ping did not fear that the people following him would have any evil intentions. After arriving at a secluded place, Lu Ping saw 5 people on his left and right, so he turned around and looked at the people who had been following him from outside the Crystal Palace. The person who was following him hesitated for a moment and then walked towards Lu Ping. From the person's figure and aura, Lu Ping quickly determined that the person was a Dharma adept. Although the Profound Sky sect's formation was a deterrent, Lu Ping did not dare to be careless. Who knew if the person in front of him was one of the Dharma adepts that Lu Ping had met when he was exchanging for the skull flower? If that was the case, this person's methods would cause Lu Ping to be alarmed. Previously, Lu Ping had carefully checked his entire body, but he did not find any secret marks or anything like that left behind. So how did this person discover him? You exchanged for a portion of the green sea snake's natal snake venom in the Crystal Palace? The person who had come was straightforward and spoke with a woman's voice. She walked in front of Lu Ping and spoke to Lu Ping. The body that was hidden behind the black cloak gave Lu Ping a strong feeling. It was as if the person in front of him was a poisonous snake hidden behind the cloak, looking for an opportunity to bite him at any time. Lu Ping did not know how this person knew that he had the green sea snake venom in his body. However, the person who came was obviously not the practitioner who had coveted the skull flower. Lu Ping did not deny it, but nodded and said in a low voice, "That's right. How did you know? Do you want to care about this? I want this snake venom. Name a price. Are you going to use a spiritual item or something else?" The practitioner said coldly. Lu Ping seemed to be staring at her through the cloak, but he did not say anything. After a while, the practitioner in front of him was indeed at a loss. When she opened her mouth again, there was some impatience in her tone. She said, "I know that you used a low-grade Earth-level spiritual item to exchange for the snake venom. How about a mid-grade Earth-level spiritual item?" Lu Ping suddenly said, "You are Chu Hailon?" After entering the underground palace, every cultivator wore black clothes that covered their figures. In order to avoid being recognized, cultivators naturally did not use their own voices to talk. However, Lu Ping was confident that the person in front of him was the female cultivator of the fire snake sect, Chu Hailon, whom he had met in the dense forest that day. Sure enough, the cultivator whose identity had been exposed by Lu Ping was shocked. Then, he sneered and said, "So you are the North Sea cultivator in the dense forest, Lu Xinping. It's really a small world." Lu Ping smiled silently and said, "You are quite capable. You were actually able to sneak in here without being discovered by the cultivators of the Heavenly Mystery sect." "It's none of your business." Lu Ping did not take it seriously. He just continued to say, "If I were you, I would not reveal the demon transformation bracelet on my wrist outside my sleeve." Fortunately, the cultivators of the Heavenly Mystery sect you met did not recognize this treasure of the Spirit Beast sect. However, are you not afraid that I will reveal your identity? How dare you come here to make a deal with me? Chu Hailon moved and covered the silver bracelet on her wrist with her clothes. After that, he raised his head to look at Chu Hailon and said, "Of course I won't give it to you for free. It's easy if you want this half of the venom. You just have to exchange it with half of your own venom." Chu Hailon came to a sudden understanding, and she chuckled. "So that's what you're thinking. There really isn't a need for so many of the same venom to improve the innumerable poison meteorite power. You'll be able to obtain 2 types of venom if you share the excess." Lu Ping waved the jade bottle in his hand. Chu Hailon immediately understood what he meant, and she withdrew a jade bottle from her storage celestial device as well. The jade bottle contained her own venom. The two of them threw the jade bottles in their hands to each other. Chu Hailon opened the jade bottle, and after confirming that there was no mistake, she said, "Thank you very much. See you later." Seeing that she was about to turn around and leave, Lu Ping suddenly asked, "This venom is very important to you? If it's just for a portion of the venom, why did you chase the practitioners of the Crystal Palace from the East Sea to the Central region?" Chu Hailon's body stiffened, and then she walked forward again. She said, "This is my husband's venom, the only thing he left in the world." He was killed by the direct disciple of the Crystal Palace, Huang Shijun, and Huang Shijun is one of the envoys sent by the Crystal Palace to the Tianqian sect. Looking at Chu Haelin's back, Lu Ping suddenly became extremely lonely and heavy after saying these words, which was quite different from the female practitioner of the Beast King clan who laughed freely in the jungle. He couldn't help but smile, and then he turned around and walked in the opposite direction. After a whole day, Lu Ping's harvest was not small. In addition to a skull flower and 2 halves of the top-rank Beast King clan's venom, Lu Ping also exchanged 2 Earth-rank spiritual objects for 2 water attribute natural oddities. The quality of these 2 kinds of natural oddities had reached above the middle grade. One was used by Lu Ping to refine his 9th protective aura, and the other was prepared for the 3 pure true pupils. As for the phase, there were only a few. He only used some of the spoils of war that he had no use for before to exchange for 7 or 8 mystic, mid-grade, and high-grade phase. As for the Earth-rank spiritual objects, there was no need to mention the Heaven-rank spiritual objects. The evening bell of the Tianqian sect rang, and the cultivators in the underground palace began to return to their respective exhibition huts. In another 2 hours, the underground palace would be under curfew. Those who needed to trade with each other agreed on a time and a code word, and they would continue the trade the next day without revealing their identities. When Lu Ping returned to his hut, he saw 3 cultivators standing in front of the hut. They were standing in front of the hut, and Lu Ping couldn't see his harvest for the day. Moreover, the 3 of them didn't look like they were trading in the hut. It seemed like they had specially come to discuss business with Lu Ping. Lu Ping raised his vigilance just in case, but he still walked over and said, "The curfew is about to begin. If you have any other needs, please come back tomorrow." You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.